rescue manatee to escape a large male manatee intent on unwanted anal intercourse. One needed not to look in that little manatee victim's cold, soul-sapped eyes to know this was not the first time this had happened, nor would it be the last.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. Our toll-free number, we'll give that to you. Also, the Skype username to allow you to take control of the airwaves. We're doing things a little bit differently here tonight. A lot of times we'll have Rich Paul on Monday nights, and he's going to be joining us later. We're taking some time out from him to bring James Cleveland on here with us, who's one of our Friday night co-hosts, but he's here this week on Monday for a little bit to talk about his experience and mine, because I was there with you today, James, in court, where you were having a jury selection for an incident that occurred a year and a half ago. It was the summer of 2014 when a call came out to the activist community here in Keene. For those that are new to the show, we're in Keene, New Hampshire. It's the southwest corner of the state. And the three hosts on the show here tonight moved here as part of the Free State Project, which is a sort of like a political migration. It's an activist migration of people to converge, people who love the ideas of liberty to move all to the same place, the same geographic area, and that is New Hampshire. So that's why we're all here. And you were actually out. You're a blogger over at freekeene.com. You've been an activist in a lot of different ways. A lot of our listeners are already familiar with you from your work as Robin Hood of Keene, rescuing thousands of motorists from receiving parking tickets in downtown Keene. And I suspect that's part of the reason why you ended up with handcuffs on at the scene of a suicide, or what at the time was not yet a suicide, but a potential suicide. There was a man who was holding a gun to himself, and the police had responded with a Bearcat and, armored cops and that kind of thing. So I suspect that your arrest was sort of part of the Free Stater arrest game that the police, I think, play around here.
Maybe. So it was the state police that arrested me. I think
that doesn't mean they don't play that game.
It could be. I think if it was the Keene police, I don't think I would have been arrested.
I agree with you. I don't think the Keene police. I've never seen the Keene police be hostile towards. Well, I can't say I've never seen it, but it's fairly rare that the Keene police are in any way hostile towards somebody with a video camera.
Yeah. Once before they threatened. I was out filming an incident that occurred near the college on Winchester Court years ago, and they threatened me with arrest then.
I remember that one. That was the one that I was thinking of when I was thinking of the exception. But they didn't do anything about it.
And in fact, I mentioned it to, I don't remember which officer, one of the supervisors, and he was like, oh, I'll have a talk with that officer. Like, you can't do that.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. Like, wow.
I've seen the state troopers tend to be more aggressive here just in general towards people. But all that aside, you were at this scene because you're interested in sort of reporting on it as one of the bloggers of freekeene.com, which is a news agency. By all evidence of any news agency out there, we're listed on Google News. The Supreme Court of New Hampshire has issued an official press pass, basically, to Free Keene bloggers. So there's plenty of evidence that, Free Keene is at least somewhat respected news agency. And so you were there recording video of this pretty unusual scene. I mean, it's not very, very common in a place like Keene, New Hampshire, where there's like maybe one gunshot death per year. Excuse me, not even that. One gunshot death per decade. Maybe a couple more than that. But there was one that was actually a stabbing. There was one killing that was a stabbing in the last decade, and there were two gunshot deaths, I believe, by police.
There was one unknown as well. There was
that guy that got shot in his wheelchair, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, Keene doesn't have a whole lot of crime, which is why when this went down, you being there, you were one of the few media people that were present there. Another Free Keene blogger was on the other side of the building, but otherwise it was print media.
Yeah, and let's not forget that media works with other media to share information. So one reporter being on scene is valuable for all the media organizations in a given area.
That's true.
In fact, I was a little disappointed. WMUR showed up, and they set up the camera, and they filmed for like a couple minutes, and then they broke the camera down. And like, okay, like to me, it's like I was kind of disappointed, and I'm like, really, guys? Like, you know, like, you guys got to be somewhere. Like, this is, you know, what you're out here to do. This is what I'm out here to do, is to document what's going on.
Well, you're trying to get the real story. They're just trying to report on what's happening.
Yeah, they're like, well, let's go and get some B-roll, and then we'll take the police narrative. You know,
Right.
You know, that's not my objective at all. I won't, you know, what actually happened. I don't want to just take their word for it.
You kind of went off on your own, which is usually when trouble begins for activists, is if they're on their own.
Yes, that was a definite mistake.
And you know, sometimes you got to learn these things the hard way. But sometimes you're alone, and you know, if you're an activist, you still want to do your thing. And so I still don't blame anybody for this. I mean, I've done plenty of jury outreach by myself.
Well, initially there was a number of activists out there, and I had radio contact with them, but eventually Garrett's radio died. And actually during
always charge your radios.
During the moment the officer who ends up arresting me walks up, Garrett's like calling me on the cell phone, so I'm trying to answer it, and you can like hear that on the video. And you know, I'm like, I'm not trying to ignore the police officer. I'm, you know, answering the phone.
Right.
But
so what happened? You were you went around like the back side of this building where the guy was who was holding himself hostage.
Yeah. So initially I got off work, and you know, we received a tip from a local that something was going on in the vicinity of like the McDonald's here in Keene. We weren't really sure what was going on, but there was a SWAT team and
the Bearcat.
So of course,
which is this armored personnel tank thing that they have.
Yeah. So of course, like, you know, I grab all my gear. You know, I drive over there. When I get there, there's already a couple people filming on site, and you know, we're not really clear on what's going on. But you know, I said, well, you know, you guys got a couple cameras on this side, so I'm going to go around to the back.
Right, because it's generally a bad idea to bunch your cameras up. I mean, if you are an activist group, that one of the first mistakes you'll see new cop blockers make, and it's an understandable one because there's safety in numbers. So if you're new to the idea of recording the police, then look, it makes sense to stand together with other people and record the police. I get that. But once you've had a little more time on the streets and you're more comfortable doing these kinds of things, then go and, you know, get a different angle on the scene. Even if it's still within eye shot of the other people, you know, go 50 or 100 feet over in a different direction and shoot from there. You might actually see something happen that the other people won't because you have a different vantage point on it.
Yeah, and there were multiple people out there. In hindsight, what I should have done is said, well, I'm going around the back, and I'm going to take one of you guys with me, and then I'll have the radio as well so we can still communicate. Our two little groups can, you know, stay in contact with each other.
I wish I'd have been out there. I think I was at work that particular evening.
Yeah, it was
doing this radio show.
I think it was around 9 p.m. when I arrived.
It was going on earlier than that, I think. I think we'd been given a heads up. So you were out there. You went around the back side of the building, the idea being, well, what's going on back there? You know, right? Let's check that out.
And, yeah, I made sure that, you know, so when I arrived on the scene.
It's like an apartment building, right?
Yes. Yeah. I made sure, like, I didn't cross any police lines. I made sure to keep my distance. I walked around to the back. I went way out of my way. Like, I walked all the way around this auto store, you know, like diverted to go around the police line. I was out there for over an hour, and I was kind of moving around from place to place. I'd set up. I'd shoot some shots. I was trying to document the various things. Like, okay, there's a police officer behind this tree, and there's like a command post over here, and you know, they're bringing out the, you know, Cheshire County has like this mobile command center.
Big RV truck thing.
Yeah,
right?
So that thing pulls up. So I shot footage of that setting up, you know, so I was just kind of documenting.
And all of that could be useful for a larger video that might actually combine footage from Garrett, who was out front, and then you were behind out back. So it may not be one, you know, you might not have completed a full narrative on your recording, but combined together with other angles, you'd have a great video.
And actually, Garrett pretty much did the same thing. So when Garrett arrived on the scene, you know, one of the things Garrett and I both do is we'll record basically while we're out there. So Garrett's walking around trying to determine what's going on as well. And I was able to actually go and basically look at a map, and I could see like, okay, there were police officers here, and there's yellow tape here, and I could actually like mark that on a map. So I was able to like reconstruct the scene just from the video evidence because everything
was that complete.
Yeah, everything was so well documented. And I even like I would like mark a line, and I'd be like, okay, I got this from this particular video clip at this time, so I could show like, okay, there's a, you know, the the line was attached on this tree to this tree.
And you will be showing some of this because you're going to court. You're facing 2 years in prison because you were trying to be the free press. And we're going to continue the discussion. You can stick with us for a little bit here. James Cleveland is here. He's also known as Robin Hood of Keene. You may have heard of him in that aspect. But this is his other aspect of being the media and getting arrested for it. It was your first arrest, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
Going back to my victim saying, you cost me a lot of misery, and all total, $2,700 in doggy fees, and all it took was one container of Dynamite, 2 pounds, 3 ounces, and my dog has been cured. Abby's a 5-year-old Silky Terrier. She had, like, chicken pox on her belly, clusters of bumps on her back, and she was allergic to, like, 70-some-odd things. So the dermatologist, it was, oh, yeah, just keep giving her needles every 10 days. But she's not clearing up. And then it came up on my radio, Dynamite. DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
And I was like, oh, that's it. I gave her the Dynamite after 5 weeks. And one morning there was nothing there. And I'm like, oh, my God, she's all clear. There wasn't one blemish on her body. Her fur is beautiful. She is totally happy. She is healthy, bump-free, pimple-free, shiny, silky. It turned our lives around. So thank you very much for Dynamite. I couldn't be happier. Dynamite's the bomb.
859-428-1000. 859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined, from where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that .com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us here toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That is 855-450-3733. Maybe you have a question for James Cleveland. He is a Free State Project early mover and has been arrested now a couple of times, actually, right?
Twice.
Yeah. So the first time was at this scene of a suicidal man who ultimately did end up taking his life, but that was actually after they arrested you, I believe. I think they'd taken you off the scene before he killed himself.
That's correct. And every time I've been threatened with arrest, it's always been like because I've been filming. Like, during the Robin Hooding, during cop blocking, pretty much every time trying to film in court.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a little bout where it was like a couple weeks where, I was trying to like, oh, let's see if I can record in the courthouse, and like they do not like that.
Yeah, you came real close. I remember when it was like right after you moved here.
It was like inches.
Yeah,
like it was just incredible that I didn't get arrested right there.
James moved here, and he was just all hot and bothered to get arrested in a courthouse. He was real close. So I get it.
They were swooping in, like, and I was like, oh, I'm leaving, but I made my stand right at the door. So when the bailiff was like, okay, you're under arrest, I just left. Like.
In this case, the police were at this scene.
Actually, he didn't even say you're under arrest, but
you were there. You were recording video. You went around the back side of the building to get some different footage. And at some point, one of the state troopers, who was not in body armor or anything like that, right? Like he was just in trooper garb.
Yes,
regular
that's correct.
Trooper uniform. He comes up to you and demands that you move back.
Yeah, so, I go around to the back side of this building, and there was an initial request by a trooper, Eaton, I believe, to move back, which I complied with. I moved back a little bit. And then another one comes up, and he's like, no, you need to keep going. So I moved back even further, and I was like, well...
Oh, you moved back twice. Okay.
That's correct. And I
Okay.
was like, well, at this point, I feel like I've gone back far enough. I'm over 100 feet away, and as far as I could tell, like, they had like a police tape. Like, if you had drawn an imaginary line through the building... I was well over 100 feet from this line at this point. I'm like, well, I agree I won't move any further. I'll stay here and film. And he kind of agreed to that. So, that was my intention. And then the third guy came, another trooper, and he was, I don't know, he was still not happy with it. But at this point, I'm thinking, well, I've already moved back twice. And as far as I'm concerned, what you're telling me is unlawful. Like you're basically telling me to move around a corner where, I no longer can record what you guys are doing.
Right.
So I was like, well, I don't think what you're telling me is correct. And I was trying to say, like, I appreciate you telling me I might be in jeopardy. Like I consent to that.
This is for your safety, son. You're going to need to move back some more.
Yeah,
for the third time.
And it's laughable. Like, okay, if there's a real dangerous situation, they're all like walking towards me calmly. It was just like, I didn't feel like.
Right, it wasn't get down.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of this.
Active shooter.
Okay, so let me ask you this: this guy that you're on the scene here, he's threatening to commit suicide. Eventually, he does. What was his complaint? Why was he suicidal?
So apparently he had, as far as I can tell, he was not exactly the best gentleman, but. He might have just been someone caught up in the system. In the police reports, it said that he felt screwed over, quote unquote, by Manchester and Concord police. So,
wasn't he a snitch?
Yeah, at some
he was
point,
like an informant.
I guess he got caught doing something, and he basically became an informant. And then he was telling the police the reason he doesn't want to go to prison is because he's worried that that his life will be in jeopardy, if they put him in prison.
So this guy is this individual is upset at the police. He's got a dispute with the police. The police are then wanting them. He's fearing for his safety. The police want him to turn himself over to them, and he's concerned for his own safety. And then they tell you to basically go to the point that you can't see or hear. A third-party observer, press, can't see or hear, so that you can sort of report on what they're doing. It sounds to me like this is an issue of police department, whether they intended to or not, but this is what it sounds like, is that they're essentially not wanting accountability for their actions. They've screwed up. The police have screwed up. Police are trying to cover for police. And they want this guy to turn themselves over. And he says, I don't trust you. And then the one person who can hold them accountable, they arrest. Is that what happened?
You could argue that.
Can you argue against it?
I mean, you could say, well, from the place I got arrested, I couldn't see the suspect. I could see some officers.
Well, yeah, they didn't arrest Garrett, who was on the other side of the building. He actually got the footage of the suicide.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting because I was filming these group of officers. I was not filming like the ones interacting with the suspect. So I'm filming guys that I believe are like part of their outermost perimeter.
The perimeter, yeah.
Yeah, so to me, it was like, well, I'm already, at the point I got arrested, I was 150 feet away, over 150 feet away.
Good Lord.
And you'd moved back twice.
Yeah, and it's funny because like the officers, so I went out there and I measured it and I used Google Earth and I, surveyed it and all that. The officers are like, well, he was 30 feet away from us. It's just like laughable.
They were misinterpreting the distance. So
they're a bunch of big fat liars, and they know that they know that the average person, the lawyers aren't going to take the time to do this stuff. The average person isn't going to take the time to go to Google Earth. They're going to get skinned in this, and likely they're not going to get held accountable because too many lawyers are scared. Is that basically what's going to happen here?
Well, gosh, I sure hope they get skinned. I'm not that optimistic generally, but I do think that James has a better chance than either I or Rich Paul, who've both been in front of we're the other two activists who've had jury trials here in Keene, New Hampshire. I don't think there's been...
Jim Johnson had one.
Was that a jury trial?
Yep, because they had the monk on the jury. Do you remember the monk in the brown clothes?
They found him guilty too.
They sure did.
So
he didn't say the word freedom of speech in his trial, though, and he sure should have.
That's right. Thanks for the reminder on that. Okay, so this is actually the fourth jury trial that we've had in Keene, New Hampshire, the liberty activists who've moved here for the Free State Project. And I think yours is the best of all of them because it's a clear freedom of speech, freedom of the press case. In the case of like Rich Paul, he was selling cannabis, but he also sold some purported LSD. And, it's a little harder to argue for legalizing LSD in front of a jury or to, use jury nullification on that particular issue. I stood in front of a police cruiser when they were trying to take somebody away on some open container charge. So that was an act of like physical defiance of the state.
You intended to go to jail
in that way. Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to go to jail, but I knew that was likely going to be the outcome. In your case, you actually moved back when you were asked to move back a couple times. And so you've got that going for you to where you weren't like entirely obstinate, but yet at some point you dug your heels in and you said, I'm making a stand for my rights here. I'm not going to be pushed around any further. You were peaceful, although they did claim you were resisting arrest, and that's the other aspect.
Yeah, which is complete nonsense.
Yeah.
So one officer testified that it was like a very easy arrest and I didn't resist at all. And the other one's like, oh, well, like you might have moved your arm back a little bit. And like,
You didn't move your arm back fast enough.
Yeah, I love it too. So both of them claim like that my camera and tripod went flying, but neither one of them like admit to throwing it. So one of them did it. I don't know which one. I think it was Gayser. But...
Our toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. James has already been to trial once on this, was found guilty in front of a judge, but this time he's going to a jury. Can you stick with us?
Yes.
James Cleveland is here. If you've got a question for him, our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, as his trial kicks off tomorrow at 9 a.m. here in Keene, New Hampshire. It's Free Talk Live.
Ammo is getting scarce in this country, so it just makes sense to reload your casings. Now with RussianReloads.com. That's right, reload previously unreloadable Berdan primer cartridges by switching them over to an easy-to-do conversion to accept boxer primers with RussianReloads.com. High quality and made in the USA. RussianReloads.com. Recycle that casing.
As the cold and flu season approaches, Silver Lungs is ready to help you and your family through the toughest of the year by supporting your immune system and overall health. From our best-selling colloidal silver generating system to our entire line of silver-based skin gels, nasal sprays, soaps, and silver solutions. Silver solutions remain one of nature's most powerful and least expensive antibacterial agents. Now you can produce your own for pennies a day in the comfort of your home using the breakthrough technology of the Silver Lungs generator. Learn more today at www.silverlungs.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is down $2 at $1,073 per ounce. Silver is 11 cents lower at $13.86 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $444 US. We still have plenty of the 2015 US Mint silver and gold eagle coins available at these low prices. Give Roberts & Roberts a call today at 800-874-9760 or shop online at rrbi.co.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to may be even more nervous than you are. And the way things are now, your references have never been more important. Here are 3 tips. First, know that employers are checking. Every hire is under the microscope these days. Second, they won't just be checking references you provide. Figure that all of your ex-employers will get a call and be asked, would you hire him or her again? Third, assume you will be Googled. So before you apply, remove all those party animal photos from your Facebook page. Even if you're not in the job market, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, the toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Tomorrow, we're going on a field trip. At least James and I are. I don't think you're going to be able to make it, Mark, but we'll tell you more about the field trip that we're going on. It has to do with the trial that you're going to be attending tomorrow, James. You're facing 2 years in prison for exercising your right to record the police, or at least what you thought was your right to record the police. And it should be your right. I mean, there have been all these court decisions like the Glik decision out of Boston or the Gericke decision as well, both of which were cited in court today. We'll get into more of the case and the details. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. Also, we've got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. And you get to meet people like James when you're at the Liberty Forum. So you've heard us talk about a lot of the great activists that are here in New Hampshire. Hundreds of them, hundreds of activists who've made the move for the Free State Project will be at the Manchester, New Hampshire Radisson Hotel, February 18th through the 21st for the Liberty Forum. Now, it's the 9th time this event has happened. It's a great event. We're there with the pleasure of broadcasting live every single year. So we're going to be there February 18th. That's a Thursday through the 21st. So all weekend long, right in the heart of wintertime here in New Hampshire. Though so far, even though it's not winter yet, it's been pretty mild. It's been kind of warm. So far.
Well, it's not winter on the calendar, but I think it's winter in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, there's been snow on the ground at this time in the past, that's for sure. Edward Snowden, speaking of snow, is going to be at the Liberty Forum. He'll be the keynote speaker, one of them. I don't think they've announced the others yet, but Edward Snowden, it's going to be hard for them to top Ed Snowden. I mean, that's the Edward Snowden of NSA revealing fame, who will not be able to appear in person because he'll be kidnapped by the federal government and thrown into a cage if he comes here. So he'll be on via video link, but it'll.
So there's no chance that Snowden will be snowed in.
He will be in Moscow, so he may actually be snowed in.
That's true. Well, it
Moscow.
wouldn't make a difference. He'll show up.
Yeah, he'll be there, and you'll get to ask him questions if you're there. NHLibertyForum.com, February 18th through the 21st. Got any plans to go, James?
Yes, I will be attending.
Fantastic. They got to let you speak. If they haven't invited you yet, they're dropping the ball. So we're continuing here. We're going to get back into what's happening with James. Actually, he's going to be sticking with us for longer than I expected. Turns out Rich Paul is feeling kind of under the weather here tonight. So let's go to Porn Addict calling on Skype. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, Ian. Hi, Mark. And James. Pleasure
Hello.
to be with you guys.
Welcome, sir.
First off, I want to say that I really, really enjoyed listening to your guest, TJ the Spy, a couple days ago.
He gets more compliments than I think any other host of the show, probably combined at this point.
Okay.
We've had
Yeah,
several
straight
that
up.
I can think of.
Is he a free stater or is he on your show a lot?
Yeah, I guess I would classify him as a free stater.
Has he signed the statement of intent for the Free State Project?
That I'm not sure.
He doesn't seem like the sign-in kind of guy, like put his name on the line. Although he's changed his name 5 times in his life.
Yeah.
So
is he a regular? Are you gonna start having him every week?
I intend to.
Should.
I don't think he's officially made the move yet. Like he's kind of here on a mostly temporary basis, but he's planning on moving here very soon.
His name's TJ the Spy. I really can't tell you whether he's on the Free State Project signer list. I can't tell you how long he's going to be in one location.
I can tell you,
we can only do the best we can do.
It's my intention to have him on a regular basis. I think he's a great talker. He's well informed. He's brilliant. And I'm just generally all around impressed with the guy. I think he's also very good on the air. So it's my intention,
Yes.
and James, I'm sure you'll do your best to ensure that he spends as much time in New Hampshire as possible.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's great because that guy is absolutely hilarious in his shtick of that techno spy hacker libertarian gimmick. It's hilarious. I love it.
Cool. All right. What else? Thanks for the patting on the back. I appreciate that. But give me a real issue.
I'm not trying to pat you on the back, but
no, I appreciate the feedback though.
I just want to listen to him again.
You will.
So the reason I called is because I was also listening to that episode. You brought Dave from New York on. You're talking about his girlfriend and stuff like that, and I really want to bring an issue to you guys. I think Dave from New York is a false flag. I'll be honest.
You think he's a fake caller?
Yeah, I think he's a false flag. So
define false flag in the realm of radio, because normally when you talk about false flag, this is something you hear in reference to certain conspiracy theories, for instance. Some of them are true.
But he's basically he's being paid. Okay, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's like he's intentionally trying to sabotage the libertarian movement.
What?
By screwing your show up. But no, listen, hear me out. Hear me out.
Hold on, wait a minute. I do want to hear you out, but I got to respond to that. The idea that the libertarian movement is going to be sabotaged by some awful caller on Free Talk Live, and actually I think Dave's a pretty entertaining caller because he always has something ridiculous to talk about, and we can ask him all kinds of questions about it. He just repeats himself a lot.
He never looks good.
But we've had people call the show that some people don't like. They're not everybody who calls the show isn't a libertarian. So just because somebody who calls is obnoxious or rude or whatever, I don't think has any effect whatsoever on the libertarian movement. Nor would, even if Free Talk Live sort of jump the shark, if you will, in some way, have any effect on the libertarian movement. I mean, yes, we've brought people to the ideas of freedom here on this show, but if all of a sudden we got hit by a plane crash tomorrow during the live program, I think the libertarian movement would be just fine.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're clearing. I'm glad that you're voicing this because I want everyone to know.
You should go check out his YouTube channel. I think it's a Hudson
Valley Guy 1, the number 1.
I think he calls other shows. I mean, it seems like he finds something that gathers his interest, and then he just becomes obsessed with it. He
calls music radio.
Thousands of videos. It's incredible.
Have you been?
Here's the reason I know. Here's the reason I know that he's a false flag trying to sabotage your show. is because he calls into Chris Cantwell's show now.
Yeah.
As of recently. And he's totally normal on that show.
No, he's not.
And
I've
then
been on Chris
yes,
Cantwell's
he is.
show No, he's not.
No.
I've been on his show
Dave
when
from New York is
I was
totally
there in the
sane
studio
when he calls Chris.
No, he's not. He's not
And
actually.
then he calls your show.
He just sounds
and
sane
he's
next to
above
Chris
Queen-
Cantwell.
Well, hold on. Ian, just because you heard him call in one time on Cantwell's show doesn't mean that he couldn't.
No, what happens is Cantwell is way more abusive towards Dave, and I suspect that's how. I suspect he's responding to that in some way. Like he has to cower in front of Chris more, or Chris will just cut him off. I mean, I was in the studio when Dave called Chris's show, and I drove Dave over the edge by taking my shirt off.
Why would that drive him over the edge?
Well, he's complained before about Topless Tuesdays here on Free Talk Live. It was something we did during the summertime with our hosts in this studio. He complained about that, and he didn't want to look at us half-naked guys or whatever. It made him uncomfortable. So when he called up to the show, I made sure to strip my shirt off because he was mentioning something about watching on the cam. And so I took my shirt off just because I knew it would make him uncomfortable. And sure enough, he was uncomfortable by that. And then I think I took some other article of clothing off after that.
God knows.
As well.
I'm trying to help you guys out, okay? He's a totally different person when he calls into Chris Cantwell.
But that doesn't mean he's fake.
They have normal conversations, and then he calls in here, and he's a total crazy person.
Have you seen his YouTube
Dave
videos?
from New York is a false flag.
All right. Well, thank you for the call, porn addict. I appreciate it. I mean, if you've seen this guy's YouTube videos, you mentioned the channel, Hudson Valley Guy #1. If he is a character, he is dedicated to it.
Yeah, he's one of the most dedicated YouTubers I've ever seen.
He's right, and for
just chugs out videos.
But for no
incredible.
reward. I mean, he has no views on his videos.
Like 2 or 3 per video.
Yeah, I mean, some of the better ones will be 20 or 50 or something like that. I mean, he doesn't have many that's over 100 views.
It's because he's not interesting.
Yeah, part of his problem is the videos are long, and he just repeats himself over and over and over again.
Does.
It's just like the
just
phone
like
calls.
his calls. So, I mean, first of all, Dave from New York existed in his character long before he started calling Free Talk Live. So that's one thing.
Well, I don't know that means anything, but okay.
Well, the suggestion was that he's a false flag on Free Talk Live or whatever. He's had this. He didn't create the character because of Free Talk Live. He's certainly not being paid to call Free Talk Live. I mean, there's no way someone's paying Dave in New York to make 1,000 or 1,500 videos or how many damn videos. Apparently, he has more than one YouTube channel, which I don't know what they all are. It's Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. More about James Cleveland facing 2 years in prison coming up.
Remember when people used to wash stuff by hand, like clothes and dishes? Or how about this one? Remember when you had to wash your CPAP system by hand? Wait, you still wash your CPAP by hand? Boy, have we got to catch you up. Listen, SoClean.com has created the world's first and only automated CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It's faster, more sanitary, and a heck of a lot easier than whatever you're doing. And for a limited time, you can try it at home risk-free for 30 days. You better get on this. Just call 1-800-951-9458. SoClean is completely automated and hands-free. It destroys 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Clean your CPAP system in minutes with no water or hassle. Talk about life-changing. Now, remember when you called for your in-home trial from SoClean.com? Wait, you still haven't called? Here's the number again. It's a limited-time offer, so don't wait. Call 1-800-951-9458. 1-800-951-9458.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
Free Talk Live.
Why would they go around bombing people around the world? Doesn't that make us less safe?
Oh, you know what? I guess some of these people got it coming. It's a good day to be dead if you're a terrorist.
How many of the people that the U.S. military has killed in the last decade have been terrorists?
A whole bunch of them. You know what?
percentage?
You sound like some liberal church.
What percentage?
A lot of people.
I'm not a liberal, sir. Liberals support war, from what I can tell.
Take a look. Obama left war when we need it. We have justifiable war. You know, it's people like you. Triumph when good men do nothing, you jerk.
Wait a second, Charlie.
I'm not bombing anyone.
You can feel however you feel about me, but Smedley Butler, the two-time Medal of Honor winning Marine, felt the same way.
Well, you know what? The Carter had it the right way. You know what? We should have went after China. We should have chased those tricoms across that river, and we should have bombed them. We should have nuked them. We should have...
You are horrible.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
Right now, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We also have Skype. You can Skype on in at username lrn.fm. It, of course, is still the time of year to purchase gifts for folks, and what better gift than a paradigm-shattering, iconoclastic book like Immigration, Individual versus National Borders. David Hathaway, it's his new book, and he just decimates the arguments of people like Hoppe and Rothbard. These are famous Austrian economists who have taken a position against open borders, which surprisingly a lot of libertarians have signed on board with. He destroys those arguments against he destroys the arguments against open borders, so he's in favor of open borders. But he also supports the position that an individual property owner has the absolute right to exclude or invite anyone onto their property. You can get your copy of Immigration, Individual versus National Borders through Amazon via print or Kindle form, your choice, or get it for your friends or your loved ones. Immigration, Individual versus National Borders. And if you want to shop through Amazon, then start your shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. You enter Amazon through the links you'll find there at shop.freetalklive.com, and Free Talk Live will get a portion of the purchase price. So back to the story that we started the show out with, which is you, James. James, you're here regularly on Friday nights, but you're sitting in tonight for Rich Paul, and it's an appropriate time because you're about ready to go and face 2 years in prison tomorrow for recording the police. Now, the police won't say it's for recording the police. The police will say this is for disorderly conduct. There's not a charge for recording the police, although there is wiretapping. But in this case, you were in public. You were holding the camera openly. It wasn't like you were secretly recording them, although there was a court decision recently in New Hampshire that did say that it is legal to secretly record the police in public.
And thank God, it's very difficult to actually go to court. I mean, my case, it was so tempting.
Well, you've already been once, and you lost at the district court level.
Yes, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's very stressful. It's like having cancer. You're either going to die or you're not, and you don't know what the sentence is going to be. I've spent, I guess, over $7,000 on it, a year and a half of my life. Hundreds of hours. Just unpaid work doing this.
Yeah, you went and you did a lot of research at the actual location where this thing happened after the fact. You went out, you physically measured the property, and you really put a lot of preparation into this.
Yeah, and thank God for the people like Glik and Carla who, have the gumption to like stick with it.
Carla Gericke is the president of the Free State Project, by the way. You're referring to a court case where she was victorious, ultimately winning a civil case against the Weir Police Department in New Hampshire, where they arrested her for recording a police stop. The charges were dropped ultimately. She sued, won that civil case, and was awarded around $57,000.
And she's pretty much set the standard now. So the judge, the state is basically, they tried to argue that I should not be allowed to bring up the First Amendment, which is completely ridiculous. But
it totally drives at your motivations, right? Like, you were there specifically to be a reporter. You were there to record a news scene. The idea that you shouldn't be able to bring up your reasons for being in the place that ultimately you were arrested in is absolutely ridiculous. But that's what the state is doing. They're trying to argue that it happened in court today. The argument happened, and I don't know if the judge ruled on it. I don't think he actually issued a ruling today.
So he issued a supplemental instruction that the state wants to review, but basically it, quote unquote, this was his words, borrowed heavily from the Carla decision.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Gericke decision.
Thank you so much for. I'm glad that there, or people like that setting that standard,
laying the groundwork on which other activists can stand up for their rights. One activist standing up for their rights can have a ripple effect that you don't necessarily see in advance. You can look back and see the effect that it's had.
Yeah, and actually there was a case, I believe it was in the 70s. It was Nickerson, I think. It was it was out in the Seacoast. There's a nuclear power plant. I don't know if it's still out there, but there was a group of protesters that were like standing on the grass, and the police arrested them for disorderly conduct, and they're found guilty, and they appealed it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically said, well, this statute is so vague, it gives too much power to the police. Like, this statute needs to be rewritten, and it's still very vague. Like, it doesn't say are there limits on the powers that the police have? Like the judge today asked, what if the police say you need to be 10 miles back? Is that reasonable?
Is it a lawful order was the question.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Yep.
And that is a good question. And I forget what the prosecutor's response was to it.
Oh, it was like bumbling as far as I can tell.
But I did get it on video, so all of this video is going to be coming out, from today and tomorrow and what might be Wednesday, maybe a 2-day-long trial. Today was just the jury selection, and there was a hearing on some of these motions. So one of the motions was this prosecutor saying that you shouldn't be allowed to bring up the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, that you shouldn't be allowed to even use that as a defense in this case.
That's not the first time we've been told that. The Constitution will not be in this court.
No, it's not the first time, but it's still outrageous when it happens. And
I don't think Americans have any clue that this happens on a relatively regular basis. You're not allowed to make constitutional arguments in a court.
It's more common.
This is the organization that's supposed to figure out the constitutionality of laws, and you can't make a constitutional argument.
Well, it was really fascinating because the state's position was, well, the jury might not understand the First Amendment.
They may not.
It was like a fascinating insight into.
But the state is the organization that had most of those jurors for 13 years. If they don't understand the First Amendment, it's the state's fault, and the state won't take responsibility. That's the Department of Education. We're the executive over here, and they don't know what they're talking about. Well, if they don't know what they're talking about, I'm sorry, you had them 13 years. You people have them cradle to grave. It's your country. If people don't understand your Constitution and your country, please drop these charges.
Well, should they drop the charges, or should James become victorious over those charges? Because then he might actually be set up for a civil suit. Although maybe he could get a civil suit if they drop the charges.
I don't know. Could they drop them at this point?
They sure could.
I feel like it would be a PR disaster for him, so there's no way that they're going to do that. They've dug their heels in, and at this point, it's like I'm invested in it as well. So like this morning, my attorney's like, well, like what would you consider for a plea deal? And I'm like, basically like, well, if they drop it, that's a good plea deal. I mean,
how about if they drop it and give me $50,000? That sounds about in line with the Gericke decision.
I would not show my hand that way. I wouldn't say that at all, because that sounds like the first thing they want to do is drop it. They're used to free staters not taking things to trial afterwards, not suing. So. I wouldn't show my hand at all.
Toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So there was the motion to prohibit the First Amendment from being talked about during the trial. That motion's still sort of out there, but it doesn't look like it's going to be successful. Just judging on how the judge in the case, who's the same judge, by the way, that issued the positive rulings in the Robin Hood of Keene cases. Now, just because he was good on those rulings doesn't mean he's going to be good in this case, but he's a better judge than the judge that presided over my case and of Jim Johnson, who are the two of the other 4 jury trials that have happened here. In the previous judge, you don't think we're ever in the courtroom with this other judge. But
Arnold, no.
Yeah, the previous judge, he actually prevented Rich Paul from coming into my trial with a Ron Paul T-shirt on. That's how ridiculous of a control freak this previous judge was. Now, I've never heard this new judge say anything like that. You've had a bad experience with the new judge, Mark, with your son once.
Yes, my son was kind of wiggling in the seats, and I was taking him out, and then the judge stops everything for me taking out. I think he was maybe 3 or 4. I don't know how old he was exactly at the time, but he was quite young, and he was wiggling too much, and it was time to go.
Yep.
And so on the way out, the judge is like, and get out, that kind of thing. And
like you didn't leave fast enough for his liking, and he started to threaten you more.
Well, he said something. He said something to the effect of, you guys are making too much noise. You're gonna, whatever. Settle down. I'm like, we're leaving. And he's like, we'll get out. And I'm like, well, we're going right now.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Scar the kid? One more thing out of you, and I'm gonna throw you in jail.
He said that.
I can't remember what it was. If it was
video somewhere.
It was definitely pretty hostile because I remember that.
I remember saying you're going to scar the kid.
Yeah,
and he did not want to hear that.
So, I mean, that was his kind of one of his bad moments, but overall, he's been a better judge, I think more fair, and he seems to at least understand the Constitution to some extent. That's my impression from having been in front of him, watching him in the Rich Paul trial, where he could have sentenced Rich to 80-something years in prison or 100 years in prison, and he sentenced him to 1 in jail. So, that could have been a lot worse, too. This is going to be an interesting trial. And the other motion the state made today, besides to prohibit the First Amendment from being discussed, was this idea that, your freedom of the press doesn't apply because this was private property. You can't record the police because this was private property. It's an apartment building. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, and we'll tell you more about that. You can take control of the airwaves here. It's Free Talk Live. As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with a click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, December 14th, 2015. Silver is trading at $13.88 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,074 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $439. Antiwar.com reports over 9 months into the Saudi war on Yemen, a week-long ceasefire has been formally agreed to with both the Shiite Houthis and the pro-Saudi faction, led by former President Hadi, saying the ceasefire will begin Monday evening. Houthi spokesman Mohammed Abdel Salam told a news conference, "We have agreed to the ceasefire to lift the suffering of our people and to deliver humanitarian assistance to them." Hadi's spokesman confirmed the ceasefire but couched it primarily as related to this week's peace talks in Geneva. Fighting appears to have escalated in recent days in strategically important areas, with both sides trying to secure last-minute gains before the ceasefire takes place. With time running out, however, there isn't much sign that any serious territory has exchanged hands. Previous ceasefires in Yemen have rarely lasted their full intended duration, with one of the most significant gains of pro-Saudi fighters, the capture of Aden, coming when a mid-July ceasefire was dishonored by Saudi forces, who later bragged they'd never formally agreed to the ceasefire to begin with. Since then, the early hours of ceasefires have tended to be tense, with a lot of continued tension and reports of violations by both sides. Having the ceasefire start days before the talks then is likely intended to give everyone time to settle into a new calm before the conference begins. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency said it arrested a man in Laredo, Texas, for allegedly attempting to smuggle 12 undocumented immigrants while using a fake Border Patrol vehicle. A Border Patrol agent was working operations on Thursday when he noticed a suspicious-looking government vehicle. The agency wrote in a statement published on Friday that the agent followed the vehicle while coordinating with other agents. A vehicle stop was performed on Interstate Highway 35, and agents noticed numerous subjects who were crammed inside the vehicle. The agency said in the statement, "To a casual observer, the cloned vehicle appeared to be a law enforcement vehicle conducting official business, but to the observant Border Patrol agent, something was not quite right." The driver was arrested and an investigation has been launched. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace Love Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports lawmakers in Seattle are set on Monday to vote on a new law that would allow drivers for services such as Uber and Lyft the right to unionize. Seattle City Council member Mike O'Brien's proposal would provide the drivers with a path to collective bargaining. It is believed that the Seattle bill, if passed, would be the first in the United States that would allow collective bargaining rights for drivers of such services. The legislation would also apply to taxi drivers and other for-hire transportation providers. The council was set to vote on the legislation after testimony from drivers for the services and other interested parties. Uber currently operates in more than 300 cities in 67 countries and has raised $7.4 billion from investors. State legislators in Ohio and Florida are moving ahead with regulations governing Uber and other ride-sharing services that would designate all drivers as independent contractors, bolstering a critical but much disputed aspect of Uber's business model. Uber Prosecutor has built its business on the contractor model. Its smartphone application simply connects riders and drivers who own their cars and pay their own expenses. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Dick Cheney Vice Presidential Library opens in a pitch-dark, sulfurous underground cave, and a seedless watermelon is coming to grips with the fact it'll never be able to have kids. This is the Onion Week in Review. Following a litany of tragedies occurring over the past year, a report this week from scientists at Princeton University confirmed that 90% of the Earth's atmosphere is now made up of thoughts and prayers. Researchers confirmed that with the rise of tragic events occurring all across the world each and every day, the Earth's atmosphere is 7% nitrogen, 3% oxygen, and 90% emotional pleas begging for everything to be okay. In other news, a new study finds nothing that will actually convince you to change your lifestyle, so just forget it. UMass Dartmouth is beginning to regret offering a course in applied domestic terrorism, and a sparrow thinks it might have caught the bird flu after puking seeds all morning. Stay tuned after the video for a brief tear in the fabric of space-time, offering a glimpse at next week's Onion Review. And keep checking theonion.com for more.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You are welcome to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The James Cleveland trial, James being in our studio here on mic number 3, it's also Ian and Mark here, has not yet quite begun. It will be kicking off tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., but yet there's already a lot to talk about. There were a few motions filed in court today. One of them to prohibit the First Amendment from being brought up in court. Yes, that's right. Apparently, well, it hasn't been granted, but the state would, if the state gets its way, they would love to be prohibiting James from talking about the reason why he was in a place where there was a man who was suicidal that the police then used as their excuse to try to protect James from the man who was suicidal, because in theory the man who was suicidal couldn't, I guess, start blasting at other people.
Yeah, sure.
Who James was around the corner from anyway, because he was behind the building that the man was in.
Yeah, and there was another situation in Keene where there was like a swatting incident you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Where, the police were full battle rattle and their SWAT gear, and they're downtown Keene with assault rifles, and they're pointing guns at buildings apparently, and and they're just letting the public walk on by. So
right, they I was there for this, and there's actually video of it. If you search Free Keene for the word swatting, I think it's like the second article down there, or second or third down. Anyway, I was there. I witnessed these police hiding behind corners of buildings and pointing machine guns up at this particular building. So I was asking the cops, hey, you want to tell me what's going on here? Because it sure does look like you guys are taking some pretty serious precautions and, protecting yourself from what appears like it might be gunfire. Like, why else would you hide around the corner of a building and point a gun out from around the side? I don't want to jump to conclusions here or anything, but it looks like you guys might be a little bit concerned. Would you mind letting me know why, whether we should be concerned too, given the fact that we're just walking around here in downtown Keene? And they wouldn't tell me why they were there. They didn't tell me that, I was in danger or anything like that. But yet they were responding to what they believed was a hostage situation, and obviously they believed there was some danger out there. So they didn't stop anybody at all from walking through this apparently hot zone of some madman who was holding hostages in this building, from a window top position where he'd been able to shoot anybody down there in the streets. So they didn't for one moment tell us, you can't stay here because of your safety. You move along, citizen. You can't be here. You're in danger. When there actually might have been a crazy madman in that building. Turns out it was a false call. That's what they call swatting, when a teenager playing a video game calls the police on the other person in the game for whatever reason.
Somebody gave him a headshot.
This apparently is a thing that teenagers do. And so that I think is a good counter to the idea that you, James, were somehow in danger from a suicidal man who wasn't even nearby where you were. He was on the other side of a building, and yet that you were in danger and they needed to get you out of there for your safety. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I've filmed dangerous things in Keene before. I mean, there was a riot here last year.
That's right, yeah.
Where I was in truly physical danger. There were people throwing beer bottles, like very high in the air, and they're coming crashing down into crowds of people. The police were shooting pepper balls. I wasn't arrested there, and in fact, there was another videographer, Jason Rapture, who's also a blogger at Freaking. He was filming like these people using a battering ram. They knocked down a street lamp and they're using it as a battering ram. And so then, he was filming their face, so they were getting all pissed, and they were actually like ready to attack him.
Getting up in his face.
So he had to leave the scene. So that was truly dangerous.
Yeah, where were the police protecting him then? Let's go to Nick in Philly. You're on Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. Go ahead, Nick. Hello? Nick in Philly.
Saying about not being able to mention constitutional amendments in court, it really jogged my memory on something that happened to me in New Jersey, in Camden, New Jersey, actually. Not a good place to be. But they have this thing that they do there where they will basically give anyone a ticket who is fair-skinned in a bad neighborhood, in a dangerous neighborhood.
Okay.
And it's called maintaining a disorderly house. And somehow this relates to people who pass through a dangerous area. But anyway,
is the idea that you're
there to buy drugs,
loitering, or something?
Okay.
Daryl had something like this happen to him in, I believe, Alabama, where he lived in kind of a rough area, and the police thought it was suspicious that
he was on his porch, and the wrong color, basically.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was this particular one, but I think the officer might have even pointed a gun at him.
Wow.
So,
all right, tell me more, Nick.
So eventually I actually took it to court and tried to fight it. I hired a lawyer. It was actually a former prosecutor, which is a bad mistake. There's a myth that that's a good idea. It's not. You want someone who's going to be in an adversarial role. You do not want someone who's buddy-buddy with them. So that's just a myth. But anyway, he actually told me straight up when I started mentioning constitutional rights and stuff, he told me, if you even mention the Constitution in that courtroom, you'll be taken to jail instantly. That was his words exactly.
Wow.
He's a former prosecutor.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Not
Did you end up
I don't even know
keeping
how to
him,
react to that.
Did you end up keeping him in on contract for the entire time, or did you fire him when you hopefully realized that this guy's bad news?
Eventually, I got the idea that basically these things are just ransom, and you're not going to get away without losing some kind of money, whether it's through the lawyer.
Yeah.
The most he's going to do is maybe lower it a little bit after you've already shelled out hundreds of dollars on the lawyer himself. So. Yeah,
it's a real scam, the whole sort of lawyering thing. And I don't mean to say that all lawyers are scam artists. I don't mean that for a moment. There's some of them who I think are good, honest people who are trying to do the right thing and help people. But others of them, I think, are there sort of working hand in hand with the system, knowing they can take advantage of people who do not know their rights. They don't understand the law and the court system, and they basically, most of them will hold their hand through a plea deal, meaning the state gets what they want. The state gets a plea of guilty, and they don't actually have to go to trial. They don't have to make a case. And the lawyer gets what he wants because he gets thousands of dollars to hold your hand through a plea deal, which anyone can do that. And, of course, the argument is that if you hire the lawyer, you'll do better. If you hire a lawyer, the sentence will be lower and the plea deal will be a better offer, that kind of thing. And the thing is, there's no real way to test that theory. It's sort of like a conspiracy theory, if you will, right? Like if you hire one of the boys in the group, in the boys club, the lawyers club, then, you're going to do better than if you go at it on your own. And you just can't prove it one way or the other. It's like, comparing apples to oranges.
Well, let me ask you this.
Compare A versus B.
If you represent yourself, the prosecutor basically has to talk to you at some point, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And
they generally will try to negotiate a plea deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, even if the plea deal is life in prison, right? Like they can negotiate something. I mean, it would seem like if you can get some time with the prosecutor, then you can present your case as to why this should be lower or whatever. It seems to me that if you're that a plea deal, I would rather be negotiating my own plea deal than have a lawyer do it. And if a lawyer's out there listening and thinks this is the stupidest thing they've ever heard, I'd love to have them call me and just explain because, what do I know? 855-450-3733, 855-450-FREE. James, do you have an attorney for this?
I do, and I think he's actually a relatively decent guy.
Everybody who has an attorney thinks that.
Well, one of the reasons I did get an attorney, people don't realize how terrible the system is until you start getting involved in it. And one of the things I realized is, I don't know these people's rules. It's like, imagine trying to learn a new sport on the fly.
Sure.
It's just impossible.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying that everybody who has an attorney believes that they're the good one.
Yeah, and I would say, in defense of my attorney, he was like, well, what do you want to do, James? Like he always asks me that. And so I'm like, oh, thank you. He's like, well, what would be an acceptable plea deal? Like, he asked me that question as opposed to trying to negotiate that on his part. And I think that's what a good attorney should do. I don't know if they always do it.
Nick, thanks for your call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Maybe you've got a question for James Cleveland. His trial, where he's facing 2 years in prison for exercising his right to record, at least what he thought was his right to record. Our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. He's here with us. It's Free Talk Live.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more.
It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what can be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you
you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. That's the show that allows you to call in and bring up anything that you want. We're here to take your calls at 855-450-FREE. The general topic, though, is all things court-related. 855-450-3733. Specifically, the court trial of our very own James Cleveland, who's in the studio with us here tonight. He's facing 2 years of prison because he exercised his rights. And unfortunately, this is what it takes to retain your rights. I mean, I'm sorry, but you don't really have rights unless you're willing to stand up for those rights. And it takes people like James and Carla Gericke and Mr. Glik, I forget his first name, the Glik guy from Boston, Glik decision. It takes people like that who are willing to stand up, plant their feet in the ground, and say, no, I'm not going to do it. No, officer, I'm not going to turn this camera off. I'm not going to go around the corner of that building where I can then no longer see what it is you and your fellow officers are doing, which is what they basically wanted you to do, James, was to back off, back off. You backed up twice when they asked you to back up, so it wasn't like you were completely non-cooperative with these guys. Then when they demanded that you back up again, you told them no. They put you in handcuffs, claimed you resisted arrest. That was on video. It's ridiculous, and that's what's going to trial tomorrow. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and there's, even though the trial hasn't even started, there's a lot of aspects that I think are interesting to talk about here, because we can dig into these situations in a way that most shows can't. This is happening to our hosts. We have the ability to go to these trials, and we've been to enough of them to where we kind of understand how the system works. So we're by no means are we legal experts, but we probably know more than the average person about the legal system and the so-called justice system.
Yeah, it's almost like a hobby for me at this point. Like
it's a sad hobby, but yes, I spend more hours than I would like to admit inside a courtroom.
And it's like, you start reading about all these similar cases, and it's like, like you have to do it. You got to do your research and put your hours in, and that's one of the difficult things about it, I think, is it's very stressful. It's a lot of work to do these things. So.
They want to make it hard. They want to make it uncomfortable. You already mentioned that it's been a year and a half since this event happened, and you've been under bail conditions that entire time. So there's that stress, the constant stress of you not knowing what's going to happen next in your life. You don't know if you're going to go to prison for 2 years, and that can make it so you just don't feel like doing anything. So it can be kind of a real frustrating, depressing thing.
Yeah, and that's true, and it's not for everyone. Like, I'm in a very good position because even if they sentence me to jail time, it's like, okay, like I got nothing else to do really. Like, I'll just go read and work out. Like, maybe I'll, like, I don't know, learn how to do some computer programming or something.
You don't have a kid to take care of,
exactly.
For instance,
so,
something like that.
I think people who are in a position where they can do it, like, you shouldn't feel guilty if you can't do that.
Right. But this is what it takes. You don't just get free speech just because. Government doesn't care about that. They're going to keep infringing on people's freedom of speech. They're going to keep infringing on the freedom of the press, and they're going to infringe on it as far as they are allowed to get away with it. And as long as people keep bending over and doing whatever it is that they're told to do, then the government will keep on pushing, just like they kept pushing you. They pushed you back once, they came back, they pushed you back again, and then they tried a third time, and you stopped them there, and then ultimately were carted off in a pair of handcuffs.
It's the nature of the state to control. I mean, it's an organization of control. So, control is not necessarily lawful. It is not necessarily right or just. And there's only one way to figure that out. And the way to figure out whether control is right or lawful or just or good is to push back and ask questions.
And one of
they don't like that.
Yeah, one of the things too is people are so obedient. Like, almost no one says no. I mean, I got some like census form in the mail for my business, and it was like, you're required by law to fill this out, and we want to know exactly how much money you make and what kind of products you sell, and describe your business in 3 paragraphs. And I'm just like, under penalty of law, you must return this. And I was like, well, I estimate this is going to take 2 or 3 hours, so I'm not going to do it.
Better things to do.
Yeah, so I just put it in the garbage can.
And they didn't come after you.
They called me, and I told them I don't want to speak to them, and then that was that.
How'd they get your number?
I think they looked up the business, but I did a risk assessment. I looked online, and the last time anyone was prosecuted for like census violations was in the 70s. I said, well, this is pretty low risk.
Yep.
But most people just are probably so obedient, they probably submit that form, just send it right in.
Nobody wants to deal with the government. They make life difficult, and that's one of the reasons why people take a plea deal. Of course, if you want to actually stop the state from aggressing, then you probably shouldn't take the plea deal in the long run. But I don't blame someone who does. I get it. Like, nobody wants that court hanging over their head. Nobody wants to have to, deal with the stress of that. So someone like you, James, or Carly Gericke, these other activists who have, Rich Paul, who have taken these things to trial, it's because of people like that is why we're, I think, in as good a place as we are today, meaning that you actually had a good day today in court because of the Carly Gericke trial, because she went to court. She had the success in civil court, which helped to further enshrine the right to record the police in public places. She had that success that is now part of the court record, and other courts can reference it, and other attorneys can reference it. So you guys are building off of the sort of the foundation that she built, that she then built on top of the Glik decisions, because the Glik decision came first. And so had those activists not done those things, you'd be starting from zero, or it'd be a lot harder for you to make your case.
And you can go back even further. I mean, like that Seacoast case where they're arrested like on the grass for like
holding the protesters?
Yeah, for holding signs, and said, "Oh, you guys are being disorderly." And like, okay, like because they, said, "Well, we don't think we did anything wrong," and because they challenged it, they overturned it.
Exactly.
They changed it for the better.
So let's go to your calls and thoughts. Charlie is on the line listening in Arizona. Charlie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, good evening, my friends. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. If you recall Aaron Russo's film, towards the very beginning, he tried to interview people outside the Internal Revenue Building.
This is the movie America from Freedom to Fascism, right?
You bet.
Okay.
That really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
It's a good movie.
Oh, yeah. I lent the thing out and never got it back. But
so what about it? Go ahead.
Makes the rounds. Aside from that, one of the comments you made about not allowing statements in court, also in his film, there was a tax protester, I believe, in Vegas before a district court, and the judge stated that he would not allow the law in his court. In other words, he himself was the arbiter of total truth and justice.
Yep, not an uncommon experience for people in government courts. Thanks, Charlie, for your call. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I've heard it. I've been in courts enough.
That's what they tell the jurors, like, you will interpret the law as I tell you, something like that. I don't remember the exact wording, but, the judge is basically saying, like, do what I'm telling you to do. It's, I think it's a terrible wording myself. But
yeah, honestly, what's the point of the jury there if we're going to write down the law and then tell you how to interpret the law and then just have you rubber stamp what we're doing? What's the point of it? I mean, why not just
show? It's for show.
It's what it looks like.
Yeah. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We haven't even mentioned the successful jury nullification outreach that went on today, speaking of jurors. And, of course, this is one of the reasons why the government hates jury nullification outreach, because it empowers jurors to actually judge a case based on their conscience, which, of course, is a danger to the status quo and the system itself. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Talk Live, inviting you to dial in toll-free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're going to court tomorrow morning, bright and early here in Cheshire County, New Hampshire, where our own James Cleveland, who's in the studio tonight, is facing 2 years in prison for recording video of the police. Now, of course, the cops will say it wasn't because you were recording video, James, it's just that you wouldn't move back far enough for your own safety. And now, in order to keep you truly safe, we are going to lock you in a prison cell for 2 years because we care about you, James. We just wanted you to be safe. Why don't you just do what you're told?
Well, that's another interesting question is like, do I have the right to do things that might not be safe?
Sure.
It's like
you should.
Like, I think I should. Like,
Do you own yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's like I think a very important question, but
you certainly have the right to go down to the state liquor store, buy as much of the this deadly alcohol as you possibly can, and then consume as much of it as you can to where you will die. You have an absolute right to do that.
You have the privilege to drive, as they're told you, and this is in some age demographics. The most dangerous thing you can do is drive a car. So you're allowed to do the most dangerous thing you can. But you can't go and act as the free press.
It's ridiculous. So hopefully, with some of these points, will come through to the jury.
Because I can tell you what the safest thing to do is when a guy's got a gun and he's suicidal, is to not be anywhere near there. And if officers' safety is paramount, then perhaps they shouldn't be there either. Maybe nobody should be going in and doing anything that's not safe.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Actually, we'll do that here in a moment. I also want to let you know about saveatpurse.com. If you want to go and save big time at Amazon, how about 20%, 30%? One of our listeners just said he got an order fulfilled at 50% off. Now, it seems like if your dollar amount of the order is smaller, you're more likely to get the larger discounts. That's one of the observations that have been made. But anyway, the longer you're willing to wait, the higher of a discount you can get off of pretty much whatever you want to buy through Amazon by going to saveatpurse.com. Save AT-Purse. Saveatpurse.com. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Tim, in Wyoming, you can bring up anything that's on your mind. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Glad to hear you're talking about the. Well, I guess cop block is basically. I mean, that's part of the subject, possibly that you're talking about. But as I was telling your screener, basically, I've been on both sides of the law. I mean, I've been an enforcement officer, you might say, a peace officer. I call myself, but I've been I've also been a scofflaw as well. So, and now I'm actually, I guess I'd say I'm ambivalent. I'd rather just leave them alone and have them leave me alone. So. But I understand. I mean, the freedom of the press. James, you said you were basically just filming something that was going on, and it seems as though the officer's safety wasn't in question. Obviously, they didn't care about your safety. They wanted to boss you around. Obviously, they considered you to be a slave. Mm-hmm. As you all were saying earlier, we all own our own bodies. We can do what we like with them. We can do something dangerous. We can do something safe. We can do something stupid. All those things at the same time if we like. But when the police decide that they run everything and they have the control of everything, and we let them have it, that's where our fault lies. Because, as I've said before, the American public, but in general the world's population has become essentially stupid. We've decided to let authority have its way, and it takes the rope and wraps it around our neck and says, "Is this tight enough for you yet? No, it's still not tight enough. Keep going." Well, essentially, we're choking ourselves with our own rope, and we're asking them to do it for us. So I agree with your position where you're trying to assert your right to get information and disseminate information, and possibly even be a safety advocate for whatever the situation was. If somebody's being harassed by the police and you're filming this, or they're not being harassed by the police, and the police have a problem with it either way, they shouldn't have a problem with it. If they have body cameras on, that's even worse. If they're doing what they're doing and they're saying you can't do what you do, then they're completely in the wrong, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
thanks for your call, man. I appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Yeah, one interesting thing is, so if I'm out filming a situation, and let's say, I don't know, a gentleman punches a police officer, absolutely, I would give the tape to the police. Like, I'm out there to document what is happening, and if someone is acting up, whether it's the police or a private citizen, I want there to be a record of that, so there can be justice. Like that's, like one of my major motivations to be out there.
Absolutely, and I did the same thing in the circumstance of the Pumpkin Fest riots, where I recorded video of a huge bottle war. You were describing some of this earlier, James, where these college students were chucking mostly full bottles of beer and cans of beer at one another for about 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, I handed that footage over to the police because I don't support property rights I don't support property destruction. I support property rights. I don't support the destruction of people's property, and I certainly don't support the physical attacking of other peaceful people. And so I had evidence of those crimes being committed, so I had no problem handing that over to them. I think some of the police were surprised by that, but I'm not out there to go against the police. If the police were doing the right thing all the time, I'd be on their side all of that time. But they unfortunately spend their time harassing people like you, James, and people with open containers and carrying marijuana or recording the police.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion too. Like, people might think like, oh, you guys don't want any rules, and that's not what we're talking about at all. It's like what we're advocating for is I think a better system, a more reasonable system. A system where all I'm asking for is, let me review the rules, and I think all of us would say, okay, murder is probably a terrible idea. Stealing is a terrible idea. Like, there's very simple rules that pretty much everyone would agree on, and maybe there'd be a society where they didn't agree, and maybe it wouldn't go very well for them. I don't know. It'd be interesting to at least have the right to try
something different.
Yeah, it's like you can't do anything outside of the norm. They control so many aspects of your life. Like I was joking with TJ. Let's say you're a business and you set your prices too low. Well, that's predatory pricing. And then if you set them too high, well, you're a monopoly. And then if you set them the same as everyone else, well, you're
collusion.
You're colluding with people. So no matter what you do, in your day-to-day life, you're going to be violating rules. And no one knows what the rules are. It's fascinating.
They don't even know the rules.
Yeah, it's fascinating just to go read a rule book. These laws, and they're just so ridiculous.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. James in Arizona, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead. James in Arizona, going once.
Yeah. I'm wondering what type of man, James, walks up to a cop in body armor with an assault rifle, as he called it, and starts asking him questions.
Well, first of all, I didn't walk up to the cop. The cop actually walked up to me. I was out there for over an hour, James, and I didn't talk to the police at all.
I speak?
Sure.
You're referring to me when I talked to the cops?
Yes, question, James.
You're talking about free speech. I made a simple statement and you instantly interrupted. But I know how you guys play the game, so I don't.
Well, no, I think he presumed you were talking about him, given that we've been talking about James throughout the entire show tonight.
What you said brought up in the last segment. And to finish the statement, James, now, the kind of man that does that is the type of man who also has activist tools doing things for him. And I'm sorry I called you pathetic the last time we spoke, James. But then again, the people you hang out with, when I'm talking about ISIS, mass murderers roaming the Middle East, you're so deeply ingrained with lack of thought. You brought up an abortion clinic bomber to me as if they're the same thing, which they're not. But you're not a deep thinker. And if you were to go to jail, it's too bad the Keene Sydney speech didn't have the sense to go to Tent City, because you wouldn't be looking forward to going there.
Did you go to Tent City when you got picked up on your DUI?
Bring him back.
Can I
Do I have to? All right, fine. James wants you back. 855 450 free. James versus James. Coming up. 855 450 3733. It's Free Talk Live.
For P150, P150GA, P150OK, P150TN, C250A, C250E, C250Q. Not available in all states.
Have you put off seeing the dentist because you can't afford to go? Are big dental bills taking a big toll on your wallet? Would you like to have dental insurance but think it's too expensive? If you answered yes to any of these questions, call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company for a free information kit. See how you can help protect your teeth and your wallet by calling now. 1-800-647-9959. This is real dental insurance that can help cover over 300 procedures. Everything from cleanings and fillings to crowns and dentures. Your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these insurance policies, even if you're retired. You can see any dentist you choose, and you'll never pay a deductible. Call in the next 10 minutes, and we'll rush you a free information kit with all the details. 1-800-647-9959. That's 1-800-647-9959. 1-800-647-9959.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined. From where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that .com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is down $2 at $1,073 per ounce. Silver is 11 cents lower at $13.86 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $444 US. We still have plenty of the 2015 US Mint silver and gold eagle coins available at these low prices. Give Robertson Roberts a call today at 800-874-9760 or shop online at rrbi.co.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join in here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. James Cleveland is standing up for your rights to record the police. He's facing down 2 years in prison in a jury trial that begins tomorrow. Today was the jury selection day, and it was an eventful day on its own right. We can talk more about that. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
James.
And Mark.
Don't forget, super ugly sweaters are available right now, and I presume all year long. But right now at tipsyelves.com, you can go and get 20% off with code FTL, FTL like Free Talk Live. You need this ugly Christmas sweater so you can lighten up your Christmas party that you might be attending, where inevitably you'll be the talk of the room. This thing is so garish, there's no way people won't be able to notice you. Go to tipsyelves.com. They've got more than like Christmassy things. They've got collegiate logo design sweaters and things like that. Also, adult onesies are available at tipsyelves.com. And the designs are just absolutely ridiculous. Cats with laser eyes. There's the one that you have with Jesus with a balloon, and it says "Birthday Boy."
Yeah, Birthday Boy Jesus. There's the reindeers that are doing it.
Yeah. And those are just the ones that
I love the decorated Christmas tree that has like sort of tinsel and all kinds of things that are in real life. I like to get these little fabric bulbs and stuff on the sweater. It's
hideous.
Have
that one too?
Yeah, it's hideous.
Tipsyelves.com, code FTL, gets you 20% off site-wide. Use that code at checkout, code FTL at tipsyelves.com. James Cleveland in the studio here. James in Arizona on the line. And James, you had asked James in Arizona you'd asked me to keep him on here. So he's still here with us. Thanks for hanging on there, James in Arizona.
Well, my pleasure. That's why I called in, to have a conversation. But anyway, I'll repeat the statement.
That's a
first. That's not a first at all.
All right, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Lie that you told that you like to use. But, James, I'll repeat the statement that you wouldn't be so casual about looking at about 2 years in the pen if you're looking at spending it in Tent City like we have here in Arizona.
Tent City is that's the jail that Joe Arpaio administers.
Right, may I continue?
No, you can wait because I need to explain what Tent City is for all of the listeners who don't follow this psychopathic madman known as Joe Arpaio in your area. Not everyone lives in Phoenix, Arizona, or pays attention to what goes on there. So Tent City is where he keeps people out in tents in the hot Arizona desert and the cold Arizona desert at nighttime, and also feeds them, basically nothing. Moldy bologna sandwiches, and essentially deprives some people of water. So go ahead, Tent City.
Thanks for proving my point, Ian, that for the benefit of your audience that didn't know that already. But, James, one of your fellow co-hosts very excitedly butted in about Tent City and wanted to ask me a question. Can you make that question for the benefit of your audience, Mr. Edge, and then let me respond, and then even let me respond to your response, because I'm betting that's not going to be true either. But make the accusation again about
I just asked if you had been to Tent City.
And why would you ask that?
Because I know that you've been, you had at the very least one, if not several, convictions for DUI.
At the very least one, which I actually have already admitted to more than one time.
Yeah, I have evidence to the contrary, but that doesn't mean that I'm right. Evidence is just evidence.
No, I admit having had one.
Right, and I said I have evidence to the contrary.
So he was asking, did you go to Tent City?
Can I continue? Since I asked if I may respond to his comment, which I knew wasn't going to be entirely truthful. Because it's not.
A question isn't something that has to do with truth. It's inquiring.
Well, it's not inquiry.
Trying to find the truth.
Up on a person. It's not inquiry when you hang up on a person and accuse them of having had.
I believe you're still here talking. Are you going to answer the question?
No, I'm responding to Mark.
We're waiting for your response.
And I'm attempting to respond to Mark. I keep on getting butted in because I know you don't like.
All right, you've got 10 more seconds before you're done. Are you going to answer his question?
You'll be in a court of law, Mark Edgington and Ian Bernard, if you don't allow me to tell your audience the truth of how you.
Oh, you're going to sue us? Goodbye. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So if we don't let him speak on our radio show, he's going to sue us. I'd love to see that one happen. You remember there was we went out to lunch today, and there was this attorney in there, an actual attorney, not James in Arizona, but an actual attorney who threatened me once while I was out in front of the very same courthouse we were at today. This attorney, I had was recording video of him getting out of his car for some reason. I don't even know why. But I was recording video, and he started threatening me. Or I was just recording video in general, and he just came up and started threatening me and said that if I recorded video of him, that he was going to sue me for it. And so, of course, I continued.
You zoomed in.
Yeah, I absolutely recorded video of him and continued to record video of him when he did that. And you know what? He's an attorney, and he didn't sue me. So I called his bluff there, and if you want to take us to court, James, good luck. Good luck trying to get some money out of a church, pastor from a church that doesn't have anything. I own nothing, so I don't know what you're going to get out of me.
Well, I guess regarding the Tent City, so the first point I guess I would make is if I lived in Arizona, it'd be like a risk assessment thing.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I wouldn't do activism there because I wouldn't want to end up there. And the second point is, I think I have some mental fortitude. Like I've worked some fairly difficult jobs in my life. I was in the Army. I was a construction laborer for over 2 years in the Southeast, which was a hell of a lot harder than the Army, honestly. Very hot, hard labor, building scaffolding, doing concrete work, working 100 feet in the air. It was very dangerous. People died on the job site, and I was traveling around. I couldn't see my family. So, there were some stresses on it. And, I probably wouldn't want to repeat that. It was not – I got paid well. So, there's that. But
James, aren't you just my minion? I mean, you moved here to Keene, New Hampshire, and now here you are. You're putting your life, your freedom on the line for this pathetic ruse of a movement here in Keene. I mean, you're just manipulated, easily manipulated. You're pathetic, aren't you?
That's right. And I give you all my money, and like somehow all my money just disappears into your bank account, and it's ridiculous.
Do you have a bank account anymore, Ian?
There's a bank account I administer.
Yeah, I administer one too, but that doesn't make it mine.
Yeah, I mean, define have. I mean, I have something I can control. Does that mean it belongs to me?
No, that wasn't the question.
So the other thing I think James brought up, he had mentioned I had brought up like the abortion bombers, and I don't exactly remember the conversation, but I think he was talking about ISIS, and he was talking about, like, I could be wrong, I think about how dangerous they were, and I was just trying to point out that there are extremists in Christianity. Like,
there sure are. How about that guy that shot up the Planned Parenthood? Didn't he say in court the other day that he's like a killer for the babies or something like that?
Yeah, he did it for the babies.
And and I think the other point was, maybe I'm wrong on this too, but I think I was arguing that the United States is a very good recruiter for ISIS. They destabilize the Middle East. They're killing people. I read today that there's over 2,100 photos of torture that they won't release.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That apparently the U.S. torturing someone?
Yeah, apparently worse than Abu Ghraib. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are some awful pictures.
We were on the air when that was happening, so we talked about that.
So, it's just... I guess that was just the point I wanted to bring up.
Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So in court today, the government, the state, this woman who calls herself the state because it's this weird religious belief system where they believe in this thing that they are a part of, but they also are, and they don't talk about themselves as though they're he or she or I. It's the state says this. The state says the court says this, even though it's a man.
One of my favorite things is, the court can't hear you unless you're standing.
That's right.
That's one of my favorites.
Unless, of course, you're crippled, then you can stay seated. That's okay.
Oh, yep.
So, one of the things she said was that she was motioning the court to accept her beliefs that the state's argument that the property that you were on when you were arrested for recording the police, because it was private property, you didn't have a right to record the police. Right? Wasn't that essentially what her argument was today?
Yes, and actually I just thought of an interesting thing. She wants to go on this field trip, take everyone out there. I wonder if she has the property owner's permission to do that. If it's not a public place,
That's an excellent question.
Does she have that in writing? Because,
I highly doubt they have the property.
Maybe we should challenge this field trip.
Yeah, I think you should make a note, because that's a really interesting question. Like, could you call the prosecutor and cross-examine them, or examine them about that? Like, did you actually ask permission to come out to this supposed private property? Oh no, it doesn't have a no trespass sign on it. And the judge himself was really going at her pretty hard on this today. Like, he was pointing out to her, or sort of asking questions that revealed that he understood that the idea behind whether this was public or not isn't a question of whether the government owns it, but whether or not it's open to the public. And if there's no prohibition, no obvious signage or, fencing, then yeah, it's available to the public to come to that apartment complex, right? 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live.
Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof money to the people where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom in the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
Dr. Ngozi Obi is an emerging American author of Nigerian descent who's published 2 novels with an inspirational message. A third is in the works. Her first novel, Love's Destiny, follows Naira, a somewhat naive young woman, in a gripping tale of love lost and found. Her second novel, When Dreams and Visions Collide, follows Fern and friends as they discover what it takes to realize a dream and the true meaning of unconditional love. Dr. Obi's books are available where books are sold and ladyofdestiny.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, December 14th, 2015. Silver is trading at $13.88 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,074 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $439. Antiwar.com reports over 9 months into the Saudi war on Yemen, a week-long ceasefire has been formally agreed to, with both the Shiite Houthis and the pro-Saudi faction, led by former President Hadi, saying the ceasefire will begin Monday evening. Houthi spokesman Mohammed Abdel Salam told a news conference, "We have agreed to the ceasefire to lift the suffering of our people and to deliver humanitarian assistance to them." Hadi's spokesman confirmed the ceasefire but couched it primarily as related to this week's peace talks in Geneva. Fighting appears to have escalated in recent days in strategically important areas, with both sides trying to secure last-minute gains before the ceasefire takes place. With time running out, however, there isn't much sign that any serious territory has exchanged hands. Previous ceasefires in Yemen have rarely lasted their full intended duration, with one of the most significant gains of pro-Saudi fighters, the capture of Aden, coming when a mid-July ceasefire was dishonored by Saudi forces, who later bragged they'd never formally agreed to the ceasefire to begin with. Since then, the early hours of ceasefires have tended to be tense, with a lot of continued tension and reports of violations by both sides. Having the ceasefire start days before the talks then is likely intended to give everyone time to settle into a new calm before the conference begins. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency said it arrested a man in Laredo, Texas, for allegedly attempting to smuggle 12 undocumented immigrants while using a fake Border Patrol vehicle. A Border Patrol agent was working operations on Thursday when he noticed a suspicious-looking government vehicle. The agency wrote in a statement published on Friday that the agent followed the vehicle while coordinating with other agents. A vehicle stop was performed on Interstate Highway 35, and agents noticed numerous subjects who were crammed inside the vehicle. The agency said in the statement, "To a casual observer, the cloned vehicle appeared to be a law enforcement vehicle conducting official business, but to the observant Border Patrol agent, something was not quite right." The driver was arrested and an investigation has been launched. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports lawmakers in Seattle are set on Monday to vote on a new law that would allow drivers for services such as Uber and Lyft the right to unionize. Seattle City Council member Mike O'Brien's proposal would provide the drivers with a path to collective bargaining. It is believed that the Seattle bill, if passed, would be the first in the United States that would allow collective bargaining rights for drivers of such services. The legislation would also apply to taxi drivers and other for-hire transportation providers. The council was set to vote on the legislation after testimony from drivers for the services and other interested parties. Uber currently operates in more than 300 cities in 67 countries and has raised $7.4 billion from investors. State legislators in Ohio and Florida are moving ahead with regulations governing Uber and other ride-sharing services that would designate all drivers as independent contractors, bolstering a critical but much disputed aspect of Uber's business model. Uber has built its business on the contractor model. Its smartphone application simply connects riders and drivers who own their cars and pay their own expenses. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
According to a report released today, the vast majority of American children lack the presence of a strong, sculpted male supermodel, with less than 4% of youngsters being taught the important values of respecting runway etiquette, maintaining a glistening six-pack, and walking a catwalk with verve and flair.
The number of strong-jawed male supermodels in children's lives has declined to record lows, leaving the majority of our youth unaware of how to get comfortable in front of the camera during an underwear shoot, or even perform something as simple as a sexy but stylish full turn.
Stanton went on to say that impoverished communities were especially affected by the lack of Adonis-like male figures, and added that children in lower-class homes were over 80% less likely to grow into the type of high-cheekboned, studly he-men that succeed in haute couture society.
Quite frankly, these children are just not getting the necessary influence of a dynamic male supermodel who can both make puppy dog eyes at the camera and also radiate that sort of raw, unabashed machismo that forces fashionistas to look up and take notice.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Launching into the third hour, we have time for you. If you want to join us here, it doesn't have to be court-related. We're certainly focusing heavily on James Cleveland and his upcoming trial. He's in the studio here with us tonight. Normally, our Friday night co-host here, filling in for Rich Paul tonight. Thanks for coming on, James.
Oh, no problem.
Hopefully, we'll be continuing to see you this week, and you won't be inside the jail by the time Wednesday is over. It's expected to be a 2-day-long trial that kicks off bright and early tomorrow morning. If you're in the New England area and you want to be entertained for all day, well, come on up, because I think it's going to be a particularly interesting trial, including a field trip. You touched on this earlier, James, but we didn't really get into detail about this. What's going to happen tomorrow morning, and by the way, it's pouring rain in Keene, New Hampshire right now, so it's going to be pretty muggy and soggy tomorrow for this field trip. But nonetheless, the court will, unless the court somehow, delays it to another day, it will be happening tomorrow morning. One of the first things that'll happen is the state is going to bring a bus, which I think is going to be a school bus. I'm speculating on that. It could be, I suppose, like the county bus or whatever, the city bus. But I think it's going to be a school bus because, you got quite a few people. 14 jurors and then the court staff. They're going to all have to go to the location.
Oh, that's going to be ridiculous.
Of your arrest.
The bailiffs out there.
Are the bailiffs going to be out there? I mean, are there certain rules of decorum? Does the court then extend? It hovers above you as you move?
This is an excellent question, right? One of the things we've looked at with courts on Free Talk Live over the years is how far does the judge's ability to issue an order extend? Right, so we've had instances of activists like in Florida where Mark Schmitter was arrested for doing jury nullification outreach, which, by the way, we did jury nullification outreach this morning, and it went smoothly and swimmingly, and people don't get arrested for that stuff in New Hampshire, thank goodness. But in Florida, there was a man named Belvin Perry, a robed man in the Orange County courthouse, who issued an order that restricted any handing out of flyers on the entire court property. So he believed that his power to issue orders extended at the very least throughout the entire court property.
Wasn't he the head judge, though, on the property?
He's one of the top. I think he's one of the judges. I don't know if he's the head judge. He was the guy in the Casey Anthony case.
I kind of feel like the head judge may have power over the entire courthouse.
This was the entire property, including the parking lot as well. So, meaning that he was overriding the First Amendment. Your right to free speech includes the right to hand flyers out somewhere, and public property is historically one of the most protected areas that free speech happens, right? So you could argue that free speech isn't allowed inside the courthouse because, you could disturb the court and there's reasons for that or whatever. But you can't have it in the parking lot. You can't have it anywhere on the property. So anyway, my point being, that was one of the questions of, well, how far can this judge's discretion, this judge's ordering ability extend? And tomorrow, the judge will be there too. So this will be the rare opportunity to see the robed man in outside of his normal element. Normally, he is found behind the podium or the up on risers in the courtroom, right? He's sitting higher up than everyone else. This is a moment where you will see him standing with other human beings.
Is he going to wear the robe?
If my experience in Manchester is anything to judge by, then yes, the judge in Manchester did wear his robe outside of the courthouse.
Fascinating.
Because he's still in the role, right? Like he's still the court, so he has to be dressed
Chief lawyer
as the court in that particular case. But I think something so the reason we're going is this is the crime scene, which, by the way, how often does this actually happen?
It's a misdemeanor.
Right, a Class A misdemeanor, disorderly conduct and resisting arrest for recording video of the police. They're actually going out to the scene of the crime. But I think one of the more interesting aspects to this is that it really shows that the whole court security thing is nothing more than security theater. In that, the idea behind court security is that you want to keep some madman from rushing the judge, right? Like, from sneaking a blade or some, glass full of acid or something like that, bottle full of acid, whatever.
Who knows what else?
Into the court, gun, and then, blasting the judge from the witness stand or the defense table. Obviously, they don't want that happening, and so that's the idea behind the court security. But, of course, court security only covers the courthouse. So if you are really interested in doing harm to a judge, it's not that hard to stake out the courthouse, right? Like, I'm not suggesting anyone do violence. I don't think violence is the answer, but come on. It's not that hard.
Well, in this case, the judge isn't particularly antagonistic. You certainly wouldn't want to do that, but I agree.
You would never want to do that.
Yeah, I agree that in this circumstance, it's sort of showing the hand that, hey, look, security, not such an important thing here.
It's a joke.
Well, what they'll do is they'll reestablish the whole perimeter using all the officers to ensure the judge's safety, I'm sure.
I don't remember how many there were when we went out in Manchester. During the Occupy trial in Manchester, they actually did take the court out, and there was a field trip there. But in that case, the actual park that the occupiers were occupying and were arrested in was literally behind the courthouse. So we walked from the courthouse to the location. This is actually going to involve a bus ride. It's going to be more of a production.
I'm not entirely clear because initially it sounded like the prosecutor was going to make everyone walk.
No.
Like, I don't know if you caught that.
It's definitely a bus.
Okay.
I think you probably misheard what was said, or maybe they misspoke what was said.
Like, I'm pretty sure initially she said that it would be a 15-minute walk.
I think maybe that's how long she was expecting to be out there or something.
Oh,
like
I see.
That.
Okay.
That's my belief on that. They're not going to they certainly couldn't make, elderly people or whatever.
Yeah, I was saying
walk
that's crazy. It'd be interesting. Like, are they going to use a school bus? Are they going to,
We'll find out bright and early tomorrow morning. But I thought this was really interesting because New Hampshire is a gun-friendly place, compared to the rest of the states out there. If you walk around with a gun on your hip in New Hampshire or a gun strapped to your back, as long as you're not a felon, you're pretty much within your rights.
You can carry a gun in the state house.
Yeah.
And this is the only state in the union you can do that.
Is that true? The only one?
It has to be. Come on.
Not Vermont?
I don't know.
What about Vermont? Vermont's got better gun laws than New Hampshire does.
I don't know, man. It seems so crazy.
Check on that one for me. But anyway, think about this, right? A lot of places having a gun out and about is a dangerous thing. The police will stop you and harass you. In New Hampshire, it's pretty normal. So normally this judge is protected by all the security, this theater, but he's going to be out with the rest of us human beings in the real world, just like he is most of the time when he's not in court, right? Like, he goes out to lunch, he goes out to dinner. He's a human being with a family, presumably. He goes to places.
Presumably a human being.
And I think he's actually one of the better judges I've come across in New Hampshire, to give him credit where credit's due.
I'm still pretty grumpy at him.
He's had his moments. But anyway, my point being, I don't think there's anything illegal if someone who's in the apartment building
because again, this whole thing took place in an apartment complex. Somebody's at the apartment complex getting out of their car or whatever, and they strap their gun on. It's completely legal to do that in New Hampshire. Does the presence of the judge affect, like you were saying, do the bailiffs spread out and create a perimeter where they can just disarm anyone within 150 or 300 feet of the judge or whatever, a safe shooting distance? Because, he's just going to be out there with all the rest of us, getting his feet dirty.
Wearing the magic robe.
Just like us. Do you think he'll be hiking the robe up, or is it like not drag on the floor?
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with them.
Yeah. So that'll be
I know you
entertaining.
can't wear one to court if you're not a judge. I know that much.
Yeah, well, actually, Mark, they will let you wear a robe to court if that is your regular attire.
Yeah, right. That's what they say.
So we learned this once when your former director of security and I went to the courthouse. We had judges' costumes that we had purchased for the purpose of trying this out to see if we could get into the courtroom with the robe on. And they were not allowing us to do that. And their excuse for this, now maybe, your mileage may vary where you live, but their excuse for this was that, well, you don't wear that every day as part of your normal attire. It's not your job to wear that robe. And so we had to take the robes off or they weren't going to let us into the court in that case.
I think you should have a new dress policy here on Free Talk Live.
Wearing robes all the time? Well, that would do it. If you could show that this was, in fact, your regular attire, then they would have to let you into the courthouse.
I wear my crown on a pretty regular basis.
And that's actually what, that would be interesting.
If I'm a construction worker, I wear a hard hat, right?
Is the crown your religion, though? Because the judge can make you take it off if it's not your religion, right?
Everything's my religion. It's my belief system.
855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So, tomorrow's field trip day for the James Cleveland trial, which kicks off bright and early. 855-450-FREE. You can join us online at freetalklive.com. And by the way, if you want to follow the trial, our own Daryl W. Perry is going to be tweeting it live. Just go to freekeen.com. We'll have all the tweets up there, and they'll update throughout the day. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Concerned about harmful contaminants in your water? Look to ProPure, the most trusted name in gravity water filtration systems. ProPure, with the silver-infused Pro 1 G2.0 filter, removes over 200 contaminants, including VOCs, heavy metals, chloramines, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, fluorides, and radiologicals. We don't just say it, we back it up. The Pro 1 G2.0 filter is NSF 42 certified and independently tested to meet NSF 53 and P231 standards. Pro Pure Water, the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. Purchase with confidence in quality, performance, and customer service. Take advantage of our biggest holiday 25% off sale going on now. Visit your authorized Pro Pure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com. Or call 800-544-3533. 800-544-3533.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
It's Free Talk Live. You may join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Also, we have Skype. You may Skype in at Skype username LRN.FM. Plus, join us over at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features that we have waiting for you on the site, freetalklive.com.
Got a new advertiser. It's textfire.com. And what they do is text marketing. You probably heard of this. If you've got a business or an organization, church, whatever it is, you might want to reach out to a small group of people. That's what TextFire does. Now, text marketing, usually these text marketing companies are set up for big organizations, not TextFire. TextFire is set up for smaller organizations. They've got pricing structures that are set up for smaller organizations. I think they start at $25 a month. Is that right, Ian?
Yep, that's what I saw today.
And what they allow you to do is send texts out to a small group. They can communicate back with you. You can collect these text numbers simply by people, texting whatever it is that they want to text into your number. You can have a local number to your area, which I think is going to make a big difference. It's an unlimited number on your subscriber list, so if you can really work that list up high, that's good. And you can have different groups. So if, for instance, you want to communicate with customers and staff and whatever other groups there might be, management, you can have different tiers to communicate with. And this makes it very easy to do your text marketing that way. They've got a web interface where account admins can create lists, manage subscribers, and schedule text messages. But the thing about TextFire is that you can do the whole thing through your text software. They make it extraordinarily easy. I have done this text marketing thing, and it can be befuddling for those who haven't done it. I recommend this as a great organizational tool for your business or your group, whatever it might be. You can learn more by going to textfire.com. There's an odd spelling here, so this is the challenge in radio. It's textfire.com, TXT, no E in it, FYRE, TXTFYRE.com, or you can get 50% off of your first month by texting FTL. It's not case sensitive. FTL to their number, 877-792-7418. 877-792-7418. You receive the discount, or you can just mention it if you call that same number and do business with them. Textfire.com.
Toll-free number for us here is 855-450-FREE. We go right into your phone calls and thoughts. Dustin is on the line in North Carolina. You're on Free Talk Live listening online. Hello, Dustin.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Good to hear from you guys tonight talking about the court system.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I'm the editor of Muslim American, and so I network with a lot of Muslims in the area. We've got some elections coming up, and one of the guys in our mosque is a lawyer who is running for circuit court judge. And I've been kind of bending his ear a little bit on principles of liberty and talking to him about the problem with victimless crimes.
Yep.
And I've directed him over to y'all's website and over to watch the Victimless Crime Spree. And he seems to be agreeing that victimless crime shouldn't be prosecuted.
What happens to someone who doesn't do that, who's a judge? I mean, doesn't that mean they're going to lose their job? If the state is sending to them complaints, charging people with marijuana possession, open container, and that judge is just dismiss. Just don't send this in front of me anymore, prosecutors. I'm just going to dismiss them all. Doesn't that mean they're going to come down on him?
The Libertarian candidate, vice presidential candidate from 2012, Judge Jim Gray, would probably be a good person to ask that to. I suspect that even if you are against victimless crimes as a judge, you have to do your job.
That's what I suspect. But I'd like to know for sure, Dustin. You probably don't know yet, but maybe you could ask him.
Yeah, I plan to talk to him a bit more, and I wanted to talk to him about jury nullification.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Isn't it possible that as a judge, he would actually be able to inform the jury about this in his jury instructions?
Yes.
I'm sure it's quite possible.
That's absolutely possible.
What else should I be talking about with him regarding the principles of liberty that he should be aware of from the bench?
Oh, I think sounds like you get a good start going on there.
Yeah,
Victimless
convince
crimes.
him of those two things.
Yeah, victimless crimes and jury nullification, which is a juror's right to judge the case based on their opinion, based on their feelings, based on their their thoughts, their conscience, rather than the facts in the case. I think that's if you can find a judge who's actually friendly to that, then that's a pretty big thing, especially somewhere outside of New Hampshire. Because up here you can actually legally talk about it. A lot of judges will call a mistrial or hit you with contempt or something.
Yeah. Now, the foundation for that, if I'm correct, is that the United States legal system is founded on the principles of English common law. Is that correct?
Well, it certainly is founded on the English common law. I don't know if it's a foundation or not.
Well, one thing you could tell them is, the system supposedly has to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, let's take a scenario where it's your word versus the officer's word. Like, there should be a reasonable doubt because he's supposed to consider equal weight to each testimony. So, that'd be another interesting thing to try to put in his ear. Like, hey,
yeah, is a cop more credible than anyone else?
Just to even question that a little bit.
Cool, man. Let us know how that relationship goes. Sounds interesting. Thanks, Dustin.
I will.
Toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE to Jeff in Chicago. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, guys. The whole jury should walk in there with black robes on.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And crowns, because they're the kings and queens of the jury, even though the judge thinks he's the king. And there was some old Supreme Court decisions where they said that the jury has the power to decide both the law and the facts.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
And,
that's true.
There was like 3 different ones. My dad used to fight traffic tickets, speeding tickets, and when he was alive at a time before there was driver's licenses, before there were speed limits.
Really?
And yeah, so he should have been grandfathered in. But anyway, he would go into the court and he'd have these great big 6-volt batteries under his shirt and a tape recorder to tape record it. Now they of course search you when you go in, but that was in the 1980s.
Back in the days when they didn't search people going into court, huh? Wow, that's definitely before my time.
1985 or something. When was before your time, before you started getting involved in this?
Oh, I'm relatively young. I'm 35 right now. So I started getting into the liberty movement when I was around 18, and I started doing court activism after I moved to New Hampshire. So I've been doing court-related stuff for probably close to a decade of my life now. And does that answer your question?
You would have been 5 years old at the time, I guess.
There you go. Thanks, Jeff, for your call tonight.
Thanks.
Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You know,
I remember your activism, though. I remember a newspaper clipping at the radio station where we worked.
Yeah,
and I
right.
started working there in 1999. I think you were 17 or something like that.
In 99, I've been 19.
You were a young man when you were working there. And you had you in the newspaper holding a sign that says, honk if you hate taxes.
That's right. I was the lone tax protester out in front of the post office. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is lrn.fm. And you can join us here. Bring up whatever's on your mind.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Ammo is getting scarce in this country, so it just makes sense to reload your casings. Now with RussianReloads.com. That's right, reload previously unreloadable Berdan primer cartridges by switching them over to an easy-to-do conversion to accept boxer primers. With RussianReloads.com. High quality and made in the USA. RussianReloads.com. Recycle that casing.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
are Free Talk Live, and you can join us here toll-free, 855-450-FREE. Skype username is LRN.FM. That's 855-450-3733. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian,
James,
and Mark.
We've been talking quite a bit, in quite a bit of detail about James's upcoming trial, and I mean tomorrow morning kind of upcoming trial. It starts bright and early at 9 a.m. It's a jury trial. He's facing 2 years in prison for recording video of the police. And that's not the actual charge. The charge is disorderly conduct, which is, of course, the favorite catch-all charge that the police usually charge people with who they don't like and they want to remove from a scene.
Yeah, and here's a fascinating thing about it. So when they charged me originally, they filed 2 charges. Because they're like, well, we didn't like what he did, so we're not sure which part of the disorderly conduct statute he violated. So
what did they call it? Competing charge? What was it called?
I think it's called competing theories.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so
you ever heard about this one, Mark?
Never. We're going to just charge you with 2 things and see which one works
whichever
out.
one the judge picks is like more applicable.
They literally had 2 complaints for disorderly conduct with a different little blurb at the bottom, right? Like, so the blurb, the beginning portion, they write out your name and all that stuff, and at the bottom they cite the actual statute, the portion of the statute that they say you violated, and they literally just like, it's throw it all up against a wall and see what sticks was their approach. Only one of them could stick, but they weren't sure which one of them they should go with.
How many
so
defenses can you have?
That's a good question. So there was that. You're also facing resisting arrest. You're going to a jury trial, and today was jury selection. We had Liberty activists out front. The picture that I took was posted over at freekeen.com, so you can see it there of our wonderful, smiling, intrepid activists who are up at bright and early at 8 in the morning to be out in front of the courthouse to do jury outreach to those folks. And it was actually a relatively simple morning for jury outreach because I'd already done most of the work the month before. Here in Keene, New Hampshire, juries are impaneled, the jury pools are impaneled for 2 months. So November was the first month that these folks were on this particular pool, and so they bring them back for the second month, which was this month. So they'd already, almost all of them had received the flyer that we were offering them this morning. So that part was pretty much done. So James, you and TJ and some folks made some signs. You brought those out for folks because when you're doing activism, it's always good if you're like leading an activism. It's always good to have tools for people to just kind of pick up and run with. Because if you say to folks, "Hey, make your own sign and come on out," well,
they don't feel like they can come out unless they've got a sign. And
yeah, they're probably not going to do that. But if you say, "Hey, come out, we'll have signs for you," someone else is more likely to actually participate because then they don't have to do all the work. And like it or not, the 80-20 rule is in effect in the activism movement. 20% do most all of the work, and the other 80%, if they show up, you're doing all right. So we had a few folks out there. Several people were holding signs and doing outreach this morning, and I think it's going to be bigger tomorrow because tomorrow's the actual trial. Today was the jury selection process, which I haven't been through too many of these jury selection processes because the courthouse here in Keene, New Hampshire, until 2 years ago was the old courthouse. They built this brand new $10 million taxpayer dollar courthouse. And the old court building, the seating in the court building, this was the one where you were yelled at, I think, Mark, was the old court building by this judge. The seating in that building, they had like those little school chairs. You remember those school chairs that you'd like scoot under your desk and they're just kind of plasticky, not real comfortable chairs?
Yeah, sure.
They had those kind of chairs at this old courthouse, and there were only like 23 of them in the audience. So hardly anyone could go and watch what was ostensibly a public trial, just in general. In fact, the bureaucrats sometimes would come in with like 7 bureaucrats. They'd try to pack as many bureaucrats in the room as they possibly could.
Yeah, try to block things.
Just to make it so the activists couldn't have as many people in the courtroom. Because it kind of looks bad for the court when you have a whole courtroom full of people not standing for the judge. And that's happened before on multiple occasions here in Keene and in other parts of New Hampshire. So with this brand new court building, the judges got themselves bigger chambers, and they've got more room and
more opportunity for people to stand up for them.
And the room is larger, which means that now there's 100 people that can sit in the pews in this church to the state, rather than 23. So now there's a whole lot more room, and so for the first time today, I was actually able to go in and watch a jury selection. Now, I'd seen one other jury selection because I went to a trial back in 2010 for standing in front of a police car as an act of civil disobedience and protest. So I had seen my own jury selection as the defendant, but this was actually the first time that I got to see a jury selection in Keene, New Hampshire, as just an observer, as a member of the media. So that was kind of a unique occasion. That used to be the excuse that they used to keep cameras out of the courtroom, by the way, was, you can't bring the camera in during jury selection because we don't have room for you. Well, today the excuse to keep the camera out was, well, there's a court rule that says you can't record the video or take pictures of the jurors. And so here we are back again to this ridiculous situation, right? Oh, they're protecting the identity of the jurors, are they? That's the idea, right? You can't take pictures of the jury because protecting the jury. But those jurors walk into the same front door of the courthouse as all the rest of us do.
Don't give them any ideas, Ian. They'll do what they did, like they threatened to do the Silk Road, like bust them in, under the
But even then,
blacked out windows,
they
and
still have to go into a door. I mean, they have to go into the courthouse at some point, and they have to leave the courthouse at some point. So if you really were interested in knowing who the jurors were, all you'd have to do is wait outside for them.
And they call them by name.
And yeah.
And they give the defendant their name, their
address.
social security number?
No, not that.
Like date of birth?
They gave the criminal record for the ones that had criminal record.
Yep.
And it did have like personal information on it, which I was like, okay.
Where they work usually is on there.
Yeah, I think it had their social on it, had their date of birth.
Wow.
Had their address. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. And so any defendant can get this information about the jury, and anybody who's sitting in that courtroom can hear all of their names being called. So, the whole process, once again, security theater. The jurors aren't protected by anything. It's just that there's this illusion of them being protected when they're actually in the courthouse. But as soon as they go outside, it's fair game. If you want to snap a picture of a juror walking out of a courthouse, there is nothing that they can do to you about that.
If you wanted to take a picture while in the courthouse, with all the surreptitious filming abilities that people have these days,
that's true.
You could take a picture. I've gotten cameras in that courthouse they didn't know about.
Everyone's allowed their cell phones in New Hampshire. Now, some courts won't allow cell phones in other states, but in New Hampshire, you can go in with a cell phone.
You can't sneak a picture of the jury with a cell phone?
You absolutely can.
These cell phone cameras, they have giant pixelated pictures. I don't know how to describe this.
Megapixels. Lots of megapixels.
Lots of megapixels.
You can zoom in.
You just take a quick picture, and then you zoom in, and now I've got all their names. There's no.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd say definitely +1 for New Hampshire too. And that when I went down to the court in Virginia.
When you got arrested down there.
Yeah, no cell phones. You couldn't even bring in a piece of paper and a pen if you had an attorney. You couldn't bring a book in there.
God.
I was like, okay, like you're asking people to sit here for hours. Like to me, it's torture. Like I just couldn't imagine you're making me come here and I got to sit here for hours.
So they wouldn't even let the jurors bring books in?
That I wasn't clear on, but it basically had signs up like I'm walking up and it's like no cell phone. Oh crap, I got to go back to the car and put my cell phone back. And then it's like
they do that crap in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and then it's like no computer and I'm like, what? And then it's like no book. And then I get in there, I have a notepad and a pen. They're like, do you have an attorney? Are you representing yourself? I'm like, no. And they're like, well, you can't have that.
Wow.
So it's just like basically like your keys. That's all you can bring pretty much.
Yep. So it's bad like that in a lot of places. You're pointing out it's way better in New Hampshire. Here, you can actually bring a cell phone into the courtroom. You can't have the ringer on. That'll upset the judge. But otherwise, you're welcome to sit there and if you've got a cell phone signal, you can surf the internet. They even have now a public Wi-Fi in the courthouse here in New Hampshire. Now it's limited. They block freekeen.com, so you can't go to all the websites. And there's actually it's like completely insecure. So any passwords that you send over their public internet, they can probably grab all those. So in that case, having Pro XPN is a big help. I was using that today.
Sounds like
laptop. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Something else, another big point in New Hampshire's corner is that you don't get arrested or even threatened, in my experience, for doing jury outreach here, which we successfully did this morning. And people are being arrested for in Colorado as well as Michigan. 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Did you know that home break-ins increase more than 100% during the holidays? It takes just 10 seconds for an intruder to kick in your door, but police response to a home alarm system is more than 20 minutes, and intruders are in and out of your home in 5 minutes. Thieves know that you're not home and have presents inside just waiting to be taken. And if you are home, how safe will you feel with an intruder lurking inside with your family? That's why police across the country are recommending you use Door Armor. Proven to withstand the force of a battering ram, Door Armor keeps intruders out. It's easy to install and barely visible, and your Door Armor is guaranteed for life. Go to InvasionStopper.com for a very special buy one, get one at half-off deal. These savings are for a limited time and only available to GCN listeners. Protect your valuables and loved ones this holiday season. Go to InvasionStopper.com now. That's InvasionStopper.com.
Robertson Roberts Brokerage has been a longtime supporter of antiwar.com. This past November, Robertson Roberts donated all the profits of their precious metal sales from Armistice Day and Bitcoin Black Friday to antiwar.com. Well, that wasn't enough, and they're doing it again. From now until December 23rd, use coupon code PEACEONEARTH, all one word, and every dollar over the wholesale cost from all products from that purchase will go to antiwar.com. Randolph Bourne said, "War is the health of the state," and Robertson Roberts believes that banks are its sustenance. Banks drive war. Why use their money? By investing in gold, silver, and Bitcoin, you are exiting the corrupt system that enables war. Use coupon code PEACEONEARTH when you shop online at rrbi.co now through December 23rd and help support antiwar.com and the cause of peace this holiday season. Robertson Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
SWCPoker.eu is Bitcoin Poker 2.0, where players can buy chips, play, and cash out anonymously with Bitcoin. No banking, just Bitcoin. Texas Hold'em, Omaha Hold'em, Draw, and many new games, including Chinese poker. SWC Poker gladly accepts players worldwide, and over 2 million hands of Bitcoin poker have been dealt at SWCPoker.eu. Bitcoin poker from the brand you trust. SWCPoker.eu.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
We invite you to join us here on Free Talk Live. The remaining moments now, you can dial in toll-free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You want to follow along with the James Cleveland trial? It's happening tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And over at freekeen.com, we'll have a window into the world of Daryl W. Perry's Twitter feed, where he's going to be in the courtroom, because we do have the ability to have smartphones in the courtrooms here in New Hampshire, because New Hampshire's a pretty good place to be. And he'll be tweeting away the little 140-character updates throughout the trial. And he's really good at this, by the way.
I really love that that sort of feature that he offers.
It's the best, in my opinion, it's the best way to keep up with a trial, because no one wants to watch the trial video unless they're the most hardcore of like court interested folks. The trial video, I do that part. I stand there and record the entire thing all day long, and I put it online over the Free Key YouTube channel. And sometimes there's some real gems in those trial videos, but I don't take the time to edit the gems. So, thankfully, Dave Ridley sometimes does that, and he'll put those over at RidleyReport.com. So some of the Robin Hooding trial, the raw video that I took of the Robin Hooding hearings recently, where you and I were in court, James, and several other activists for saving people from getting parking tickets, and the city was suing us. That particular video was cut up by Dave Ridley and made into like highlight reels. So that's cool. I love it when people take, video that I put online and do other things that are more creative with it. But Daryl is awesome at continuously tweeting throughout the trial. Like every few moments, he's doing another tweeted update on what the person on the stand is saying, what the judge is saying, what's going on in the courtroom, what the bailiffs are threatening people over. And it's a real great way to kind of get a look inside the trial without actually having to be here physically for it.
My family appreciated it last time he did it, and they care about me, and they said, well, we watched like an hour of the video, and then we just couldn't take it anymore.
It is miserable.
It's like, okay, I don't blame you.
So tune in over at freekeen.com. Look for that post. It'll go live tomorrow morning just before the trial, and Daryl will tweet throughout the day. We expect it's going to last a solid day, if not a full 2 days of court. You can join us here toll-free at 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Let's go to Nathan. He's in Texas via Skype. Hello, Nathan.
Hey, guys. James said something about working for construction. Is that right, for a couple years?
Yeah, I worked for the Crom Corporation. It's a company based out of Gainesville, Florida. They make pre-stressed composite concrete tanks. You can Google them if you're interested.
Oh, I was imagining like carpentry, or getting up on a building under construction 100 feet in the air or something along those lines. So you said you saw people die. So I was reading.
So it was just basically these large concrete structures. It's kind of hard to describe. Most of their use for water tanks. They'll store various liquids in them. Like maybe they build them at oil refineries and even nuclear reactors, but. Some of them were, I worked on a 10 million gallon tank. That thing was huge. It's like the size of a stadium. Yeah, I worked on a 4 million gallon one. I worked on a
what are those tanks for?
Those were for water storage.
Okay. So not the pressure tanks where the water's real high up in the air.
That's right. So Keene actually has one. It's up near Sunset Rock. If you ever go on the little trail up there, you can go see it.
It's elevated.
Yep, and it doesn't necessarily have to be up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, for a colder climate, it's actually better to not be in the air. And those things, they'll last 100 years, so it's a good investment.
So why are you calling about that, Nathan?
Oh, well, I was just curious. I was reading about the death of John Denver in an experimental aircraft, and it's sort of one of these things where, it's a combination of factors, right? It's not just any one thing. It has to be, pilot error, and design errors and bad luck on the day in question and this kind of thing.
Yeah, and
so I was just wondering.
It typically was like that. I'll give you an example. There was an air compressor, so there's an air line running around the tank, and there's concrete trucks driving around, and there's a coupling, and somehow the truck ran over the coupling and it disconnected it, and so the thing goes shooting off and basically whacks someone's leg, and the guy. Almost loses his legs. He's bleeding everywhere, and it was terrible. But
this is a very dangerous profession compared to, say, police officer. For instance, police officer is not even in the top 10, as I understand it, most dangerous professions. But I believe construction worker is in that top 10 list.
Another thing is, so once they got the roof up,
and that's even more dangerous, roofing.
Yeah, you would basically be hooked up until you got the roof up, because then there's nothing to hook up to. So
what do you mean hooked up?
So you'd have a lanyard. You'd wear a harness and a lanyard, and it has 2 hooks on it, so you're always connected. So you undo one and snap the other one.
Doesn't wearing a harness make it the safest though, because you're strapped to something?
It does, but what I'm saying is once that roof is near completion, there's nowhere to hook up at that point. So there's handrails, but there's a guy bending rebar at the top of this thing, and no one was there's a couple mistakes. Number one, like no one was around him, so he fell, and like no one even knew about it for a little while. But
how do you bend rebar?
There is a tool called a rebar bender, and you use your body weight.
If you needed to bend it and just on site, you can stick it in your trailer hitch on your truck and just bend it off that way. That's what I've done to make little L shapes if I need to pound it into the ground.
I'll be damned. Thanks for the call, Nathan.
Chances are good.
Appreciate hearing from you tonight. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I don't think we've missed anything. I think we've really done all the detail we possibly can get out of today's court experience. Mark, do you feel like you're missing any details and questions for James?
It seems like this is going to be a slam dunk.
Don't get cocky.
Oh, well, it doesn't make it. Well, hold on. What do you think that my attitude matters? I don't even go there.
I just think generally people shouldn't get. I think it's a bad thing to predict what's going to happen in court. I think that anything can happen.
Well, I told the attorney, I said, like, I'm going to try to be realistic. Like, I'd like to beat the resisting arrest charge and like the disorderly conduct, whatever.
I beat resisting arrest. And I stood in front of a police car on purpose. You actually backed off when you were asked to back off. And so I think your case is a lot better than mine. So, yeah, I think that, I will say this, Mark, that I think that James has got the best case of any of the potentials for jury nullification, or not even really jury nullification. Like, you could maybe beat this on the merits.
Yeah.
But certainly, have you talked to your attorney about jury nullification? Is that something that's come up?
Yes, he's definitely going to do that.
Really? Okay.
Yep. He thinks it's a. So we're going to argue the facts, of course.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
He's going to mention it during opening and closing, and
because you can do that here in New Hampshire. Other states, you'll get arrested for doing even mentioning the jury nullification to a juror as they're walking into the courthouse is an arrestable offense, apparently, in places like Colorado and Michigan.
Sometimes, yeah.
But here in New Hampshire, we've got jury nullification outreach that goes on in something like 6 or 7 out of 10 counties here. And the only reason we don't have it in the other 3 counties is we need more movers here for the Free State Project. So join it over at freestateproject.org. And if you want to learn more about jury nullification, I highly recommend you visit the Fully Informed Jury Association. That is it's a nationwide organization. I think they're actually based in Montana. FIJA.org is their website, FIJA, FIJA.org. They will tell you all about jury nullification, including the history of this 1,000-year-old right that you as a juror have to vote your conscience in the case. Yes, Mark?
Go right ahead. Finish up.
No, I was just going to say that the jury in James's case is actually a little on the younger side. There's actually some, I would say, mostly it looks like under 45.
That is heartening, but not necessarily an indication. I was just looking at the Free State Project's numbers, and it looks like they're almost 100 people away from 90% of the reaching the number. So it's 20,000 is the number they need to reach.
Okay.
They're at 17,892, which is almost 18,000. 18,000 will put them at 90%. I think, and the numbers are creeping up. I wonder, is the velocity, the speed at which people are signing up is going up over time. It will most certainly be 2016 is the year of the completion of the Free State Project, and we're going to make a lot of marketing hay over that. But I'm excited. I can't wait for the number to be hit. I think that the number of signups is going to continue to ramp up. It's already a little faster now. I think it's going to get faster and faster until it hits the 20,000 number. They'll probably have something where people can sign up as friends of the Free State Project at that point, and people will continue to sign up there. So, I'm
excited about it. You're right, Mark. It's definitely going to make it in 2016. You're going to have to hold that thought. John is in Kalamazoo. John, you got the last few moments here. Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a question. You said earlier that you were going to bus in jurors, and something about the judge coming to a place where the guns, you want to keep at a 350 feet area. I was just confused about that. Is the judge going somewhere? Are they bringing the jurors into some place?
The judge, the jury, probably some bailiffs, probably the court stenographer. They're going to be hopping in a bus tomorrow morning here in Keene, New Hampshire from the courthouse and going down to what they call a viewing, where you take the jury out and you show them the scene of the crime. We'll tell you more about it probably tomorrow. Thanks, John, for your call tonight. We'll see you online in the meantime at freetalklive.com. Live tweets tomorrow at freekeene.com.
The
The producers of Sesame Street have responded to the controversy over the recent New Yorker cover that showed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple celebrating the repeal of DOMA. Sesame Workshop released a statement today saying, quote, "We have never viewed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple, but as two friends who will do absolutely anything to get their rocks off. These pansexual perverts cannot be categorized in your narrow gay, straight, or bisexual paradigm. They're into some pretty sick shit." On their website, PBS released a long list of the duo's strange sexual fetishes, which range from shoving ice into their anuses so that they can cold water into women's mouths, to castrating stray dogs and then masturbating onto the animals' bleeding wounds. Although they're flattered that fans have turned the characters into gay icons, the producers explained that calling them gay would be inaccurate. Quote, "They will literally f*** anything that moves." The producers also added that Oscar the Grouch is neither male nor female, and that its trash can is designed to hide a lower body that is just a Lovecraftian monstrosity of hundreds of interlocking penises and vaginas.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is down $2 at $1,073 per ounce. Silver is 11 cents lower at $13.86 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $444 US. We still have plenty of the 2015 US Mint Silver and Gold Eagle coins available at these low prices. Give Roberts & Roberts a call today at 800-874-9760 or shop online at rrbi.co.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.